Phoenix Nights. Chapter 1371. Spiritual Mountain, the Holy Land of West Earth's Buddhist Sect. It was the supreme sacred mountain in the hearts of countless believers. All the experts of West Earth's Buddhist sect were gathered there. After Gu Fei forced the young cultivator to retreat, the Buddhist sect's supreme expert at the peak of Spiritual Mountain made his move. The devil-subduing Vajra scepter turned into a golden true dragon and rushed down from the peak. The terrifying fluctuations of a saint-level cultivator reverberated between the heavens and earth. It was as though a golden holy dragon had appeared between the heavens and earth, shaking the entire sacred mountain. Boom! Gu Fei was incomparably domineering. He didn't dodge and directly punched towards the golden dragon that was rushing down from the sky. The aura of the fist striking the dragon's head was shocking. The devil-subduing Vajra scepter was a sacred weapon of Buddhist sect. Under the control of a supreme expert, it emitted a strand of holy might, causing all the living beings on Spiritual Mountain to tremble. Countless Buddhist disciples directly knelt down as though they were worshipping the Supreme Buddha in their hearts. Everyone was incomparably pious. Boom! Vast Buddhist energy and immortal energy raged. Gu Fei was extremely domineering. He actually used the power of his physical body to resist the sacred weapon of Buddhist sect. His golden fist seemed to have turned into a golden sun as it fiercely collided with the dragon's head formed by the devil-subduing Vajra. Amidst the earth-shattering explosion, a saint-level energy wave spread out from between the two, sweeping across the heavens and the earth. Gu Fei was sent flying and the devil-subduing Vajra scepter was also sent flying. The golden true dragon dissipated in the void and turned into a golden Vajra scepter that was about a foot long. There were Buddhist Tao runes on it. What? This is impossible. Am I seeing things? Heavens, he actually used his physical body to block the attack of our sacred weapon. All the experts of Buddhist sect who saw this scene were stunned. They simply couldn't believe what they saw. There was actually someone in this world who could use his physical body to resist a sacred weapon. Even though they saw it with their own eyes, they still couldn't believe it. Everyone felt that everything was too surreal. Could it be that this young cultivator was actually a saint of immortal Tao? Humph! Gu Fei was sent flying several thousand zhang away before he managed to stop himself. 9 rays of immortal light shot out from his body and circled around him. Each ray of immortal light emitted a terrifying wave of immortal force. The 9 revolutions heavenly art. You are the successor of the Tao Father? An old voice rang out from the peak of Spirited Mountain. Then, a figure appeared in the sky above Spirited Mountain, walking down the mountain step by step. This was an old monk. This old monk couldn't be any older. All his teeth had fallen off and his eyes were turbid. It was as if he couldn't see the road anymore. However, with every step the old monk took, a golden lotus would appear beneath his feet, dragging him down. With every step he took, lotuses would appear. Buddhist mighty figure! When Gu Fei saw the old monk, his pupils involuntarily shrank. He had come prepared. His real body was outside the Spiritual Mountain, and it was his saint-level puppet avatar that had broken into the Spiritual Mountain. His primordial spirit had entered the avatar's control and unleashed a supreme immortal arcane art. This made the Buddhist mighty figure mistakenly believe that it was an immortal mighty figure who had broken into the Spiritual Mountain. The old monk took a few steps forward and arrived near the mountain gate. He reached out and grabbed the demon-subduing Vajra that had been knocked away by Gu Fei's fist energy. Buzz! The Vajra vibrated and the Buddhist Tao runes on its surface emitted a resplendent Buddhist light, drawing upon a strand of Buddhist Tao energy. A holy aura filled the air. Buddhist Tao and immortal Tao have always minded their own business. Benefactor, are you trying to incite a war between immortals and Buddhas? The old monk's hoarse voice rang out. Though the old monk's voice wasn't loud, it traveled far and wide. All the Buddhist disciples on the Spiritual Mountain could hear him clearly. Humph! What war between immortals and Buddhas? Old monk, don't talk so much. I'm here today to witness the legendary heavenly Buddha Tao. Gu Fei's overbearing attitude left no room for negotiation. It's impossible to enter the heavenly Buddha Tao. At this time, the young monk also walked over. The two Buddhist mighty figures locked onto Gu Fei. A bronze bell appeared in the young monk's hand. Gu Fei couldn't help but take another look at the bronze bell in the young monk's hand because he noticed that it was very similar to the Buddhist sacred weapon, the Sanskrit Buddhist bell. A Buddhist sacred weapon that imitates the Sanskrit Buddhist bell? The aura exuded from the bronze bell made Gu Fei feel a considerable pressure. This was a sacred weapon, a terrifying one at that. Then let me experience the Buddhist sect's ultimate move today. Gu Fei didn't say anything else and directly attacked. The 9 immortal lights around him turned into 9 immortal swords. They emitted towering sword energy fluctuations and pierced towards the two Buddhist mighty figures in front of him. Swish! The 9 swords shot out at the same time, easily piercing through the void of heaven and earth. Under the impact of the sword energy, the temperature of the entire heaven and earth dropped rapidly. The chilling sword energy caused one's heart to palpitate. This was no longer a battle between ordinary mighty figures. The arrays on the spiritual mountain were all activated. Rays of Buddhist light rushed out from the mountain, protecting the entire spiritual mountain. The surface of the spiritual mountain was engraved with countless Buddhist runes. The Buddhist runes interweaved with the power of the great Tao of Buddhism. Even the power of a saint would find it hard to break through the spiritual mountain. Dang! A bell rang. The young monk activated the bronze bell. A transparent ripple visible to the naked eye spread out from the Buddhist bell. This was a terrifying, formless killing sound. Buzz! The 5 immortal swords that pierced towards the young monk were blocked by the sound waves from the Buddhist bell. The swords trembled and were almost shattered by the sound waves. The old monk was even more ferocious. He directly swung the demon-subduing Vajra in his hand and smashed away the 4 immortal swords that pierced towards him. The old monk looked extremely old, but the blood in his body was extremely vigorous. It was as if a terrifying beast was hiding in his body. He swung the demon-subduing Vajra and smashed away the 4 immortal swords. Then, he rushed towards Gu Fei. Boom! The old monk leaped up high. Then, he swung the demon-subduing Vajra with both hands and smashed it towards Gu Fei's head. Countless Buddhist runes appeared on the demon-subduing Vajra. A terrifying saint-level Buddhist power surged out from the demon-subduing Vajra. Everyone was shocked. They quickly retreated further away. At this time, no one could intervene. The Buddhist mighty figure in the dark did not seem to have any intention of taking action. The vast and mighty saint-level power caused many temples around the spiritual mountain to collapse. Sand and pebbles within a radius of several miles were sent flying. You think I'm afraid of you? Gu Fei grew stronger. He directly faced the demon-subduing Vajra that was smashing down. Chaotic upheaval! A strange power surged out from his body. The void of heaven and earth seemed to be suddenly shifted and reversed. Then, the demon-subduing Vajra that was smashing down from above actually reversed and smashed towards the old monk's head. To see the first episode without advertisements, please go to target=_blank. Chapter 1372. Gu Fei's immortal Tao primordial spirit had inherited all the immortal Tao's divine arts. Gu Fei's primordial spirit entered the saint-tier puppet and could use all sorts of divine arts. He executed the chaotic reversal secret technique and reversed the demon-subduing Vajra scepter that the old monk had smashed down. The old monk's ferocious attack had put him in a dangerous situation. Rumble! The scepter's terrifying might shook heaven and earth, shattering the void as it smashed towards the old monk's head. The old monk paled in fright. Roar! The old monk roared in anger. Golden Buddhist energy surged from his body. Although he looked old, he was terrifyingly ferocious. He could actually use brute force to stop the scepter from smashing down. Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this. This old monk was too strong. He didn't seem like an old man at all. His qi and blood were many times more vigorous than those in the prime of their lives. What kind of technique did this old monk cultivate? Gu Fei found it hard to imagine. This old monk couldn't be any older, but his qi and blood were so vigorous that there were no signs of aging at all. 9 secrets of the immortal Tao chaotic? The old monk's eyes were no longer turbid. Two resplendent divine lights shot out from the depths of his eyes as he glanced at Gu Fei with incomparable shock. He recognized the immortal secret technique that Gu Fei used. Clang! The bronze bell grew to the size of a mountain, emitting a terrifying murderous sound as it smashed towards Gu Fei's head. The young monk had made his move. The murderous sound of the bell was vast and mighty. The space below was silently annihilated. Gu Fei used the void step and rushed out from below the bell. Then, he defied the heavens and arrived in front of the bell. He directly punched the bell and a ferocious fist energy erupted from Gu Fei's fist. Clang! The bronze Buddhist bell was smashed by Gu Fei's fist, causing it to cave in. A fist mark appeared on the Buddhist bell and the bell was sent flying thousands of meters away by Gu Fei. What? Everyone couldn't believe their eyes when they saw this. Too strong. The body of this supreme being was just too strong. It was like a humanoid holy weapon. The young monk was even more shocked. No one knew better than him how powerful this Buddhist sacred weapon was because it was a Buddhist weapon refined by a Buddhist great sage. The Buddhist great sages were supreme beings who could compete with the immortal Tao great sages. They were all ruthless characters who were only one step away from attaining the flawless great Tao. The bronze Buddhist bell was made by imitating the Buddhist sect's holy weapon, the Sanskrit Buddhist bell. It was imprinted with the mark of the great Tao of the Buddhist sect's great Tao, and it could activate the power of the great Tao. The moment the Buddha bell appeared, it was invincible. The young monk had used this sacred weapon of the Buddhist sect to slay countless demons. But right now, he had met his match. The bronze bell quickly shrank and flew back into the young monk's hand. He wiped the bell with his hand, and the fist mark on the bell immediately disappeared. Buddhist runes appeared on the bronze Buddhist bell, and a terrifying power was awakening. Again! At this time, the old monk attacked again. The exorcism Vajra in his hand turned into a golden dragon shadow. It emitted a blinding golden light and swept towards Gu Fei's waist. Chaotic reversal! Gu Fei once again used one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the chaotic reversal secret art. He reversed the old monk's attack, but this time, Gu Fei felt that it was extremely strenuous. The old monk was using a great Buddhist technique to fight against Gu Fei's 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. Although the old monk's attack was reversed, it was no longer a threat to him. His entire body became illusory and illusory. Although Gu Fei's devil-subduing Vajra pestle had struck him, it was only his illusory image that was struck. You have the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, and I have the Buddhist light traversal technique. The old monk's figure flickered between reality and illusion, and his old voice was full of confidence. The Buddhist light traversal technique had unimaginable power. It could actually fight against one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the chaotic reversal secret art. This shocked Gu Fei to no end. One had to know that the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao were supreme immortal techniques created by the supreme Tao ancestor. Each secret had heaven-defying divine might. Once the 9 secrets were used, one would be in an invincible position. The 9 secrets of the immortal Tao were unbeatable secret arts. Alright, then let's see who's the strongest. Gu Fei's endless fighting spirit was ignited by the old monk. He used the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao to fight against the old monk. This was a battle between saints. Even with the Buddhist grand formation protecting the spirit mountain, the void around Gu Fei and the old monk was still pierced. The evil subduing Vajra scepter turned into a golden divine dragon that danced around the old monk. The old monk was like the legendary dragon subduing Arhat, displaying great battle prowess. The old monk was too ferocious. He actually exchanged a few punches with Gu Fei. But the result was predictable. The bones in the old monk's arm were almost broken, and his body suffered a great impact. He was so scared that he didn't dare to clash head-on with Gu Fei. Gu Fei's nascent divinity was a saint-level puppet. It was a human-shaped saint weapon that could display the power of a saint level. A punch from it could kill a half-saint. The old monk was also quite impressive. He actually exchanged a few punches with Gu Fei. His body was only injured, and he wasn't smashed into pieces by Gu Fei's fists. Gu Fei was still fighting the two Buddhist almighties with ease. The battle prowess displayed by the puppet made the two Buddhist almighties fearful. They could vaguely guess that there was something wrong with Gu Fei because they could see that Gu Fei wasn't a saint. Since he wasn't a saint, how could he have a physique that was comparable to a saint weapon? The legendary saint-level puppet? Those who could become almighties were all peerless geniuses. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to sever their Tao to become almighties. Such existences were definitely ancient existences in the mortal realm. The old monk and the young monk had lived for countless years. Their knowledge was extraordinary. They quickly noticed the abnormality on Gu Fei's body. If Gu Fei was a saint, he would be able to kill all of them with a single move. Even if he possessed a saint weapon, the result would be the same. There was a fundamental difference between the power of a saint and a true saint. If a saint attacked, they would be instantly killed even if they had a saint weapon. This was because a saint's understanding of the great Tao was a gap that other cultivators couldn't surpass. The profundities of the great Tao could become an absolute killing force. Without reaching the level of a saint, one would never know how terrifying a saint was. Although Gu Fei was fighting the two Buddhist almighties, the thing that really made him feel uneasy was the existence of the Buddhist almighties hiding in the dark. There were 3 Buddhist almighties overseeing the spiritual mountain. At this time, 2 of them had already made their moves. The last one had yet to make a move. This was a variable. The last Buddhist almighty hadn't made a move yet, but his divine sense locked onto Gu Fei, forcing Gu Fei to be on guard at all times. This affected his battle prowess. Damn it! Gu Fei naturally knew what the guy hiding in the dark was planning. The Buddhist almighty wanted Gu Fei to fight with the old monk and the young monk until both sides were injured before he made his move. The Buddhist almighty didn't seem to be united. Bam! Gu Fei sent the bronze Buddhist bell flying with a punch and forced the young monk to retreat. He took a step forward and stomped on the old monk's demon, subduing Vajra ferociously. Swish! He stomped on the demon, subduing Vajra with his right foot, and turned into a bolt of lightning. He soared into the sky and rushed towards the peak of the spiritual mountain. Gu Fei couldn't be bothered with these people anymore. Stop him! We can't let him reach the peak of the spiritual mountain! Shouts sounded from all directions. All the Buddhist experts were shocked and angry, but they didn't have the strength to stop Gu Fei. Roar! The 2 Buddhist almighties roared and chased after Gu Fei. It was their duty to protect the spiritual mountain. If Gu Fei were to reach the peak of the spiritual mountain, they would be too ashamed to show their faces. The 5 elements void appeared on Gu Fei's body. He used the void steps and moved quickly in the void. In just a few steps, he was already halfway up the spiritual mountain. Boom! At this moment, a golden Buddha's hand broke through the layers of light from the peak of Spirited Mountain and slammed down on Gu Fei, who was halfway up the mountain. A terrifying Buddhist power came down from the giant hand. A large area of the void collapsed under the cover of this giant hand. This was a destructive force. This is... Gu Fei directly soared into the sky and pointed his finger. The golden light from his finger was as sharp as a heavenly sword. It cut through the void and pierced through the big hand that was slapping down from the sky. Then, he passed through the big hand that was pierced through. Swish! 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 Beams of golden light cascaded down from the spiritual mountain like golden rainbows. They connected the sky and the earth, emitting terrifying waves of Buddhist power. Each beam of Buddhist light seemed to be able to kill a sage. This Buddhist light was the power condensed by the mountain guarding Grand Formation. The Buddhist Grand Formation on the spiritual mountain was definitely a saint-level formation. It was extremely terrifying. Even a quasi-sage would be killed by it. However, Gu Fei was not a quasi-sage. It was not his real body that made it to the top of the spiritual mountain. It was a saint-level incarnation of his immortal Dao Yuanshan. A saint-level formation would not be able to suppress this incarnation of Gu Fei. Bam! Gu Fei swung his fist. Beams of dazzling golden Buddhist light shattered under his fist, turning into specks of golden light that dissipated between heaven and earth. Stop him! An expert of the Buddhist sect shouted. All the experts of the Buddhist sect were extremely nervous. If Gu Fei really made it to the peak of the spiritual mountain, the entire Buddhist sect would lose face. No one wanted to see that happen. The young monk had used this sacred weapon of the Buddhist sect to slay countless demons. But right now, he had met his match. The bronze bell quickly shrank and flew back into the young monk's hand. He wiped the bell with his hand, and the fist mark on the bell immediately disappeared. Buddhist runes appeared on the bronze Buddhist bell, and a terrifying power was awakening. Again! At this time, the old monk attacked again. The exorcism Vajra in his hand turned into a golden dragon shadow. It emitted a blinding golden light and swept towards Gu Fei's waist. Chaotic reversal! Gu Fei once again used one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the chaotic reversal secret art. He reversed the old monk's attack, but this time, Gu Fei felt that it was extremely strenuous. The old monk was using a great Buddhist technique to fight against Gu Fei's 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. Although the old monk's attack was reversed, it was no longer a threat to him. His entire body became illusory and illusory. Although Gu Fei's devil-subduing Vajra pestle had struck him, it was only his illusory image that was struck. You have the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, and I have the Buddhist light traversal technique. The old monk's figure flickered between real and illusory, and his old voice was full of confidence. The Buddhist light traversal technique had unimaginable power. It could actually fight against one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the chaotic reversal secret art. This shocked Gu Fei to no end. One had to know that the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao were supreme immortal techniques created by the supreme Tao ancestor. Each secret had heaven-defying divine might. Once the 9 secrets were used, one would be in an invincible position. The 9 secrets of the immortal Tao were unbeatable secret arts. Alright, then let's see who's the strongest. Gu Fei's endless fighting spirit was ignited by the old monk. He used the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao to fight against the old monk. This was a battle between saints. Even with the Buddhist grand formation protecting the spirit mountain, the void around Gu Fei and the old monk was still pierced. The evil subduing Vajra scepter turned into a golden divine dragon that danced around the old monk. The old monk was like the legendary dragon subduing Arhat, displaying great battle prowess. The old monk was too ferocious. He actually exchanged a few punches with Gu Fei. But the result was predictable. The bones in the old monk's arm were almost broken, and his body suffered a great impact. He was so scared that he didn't dare to clash head-on with Gu Fei. Gu Fei's nascent divinity was a saint-level puppet. It was a human-shaped saint weapon that could display the power of a saint level. A punch from it could kill a half-saint. The old monk was also quite impressive. He actually exchanged a few punches with Gu Fei, and his body was only injured. He wasn't smashed into pieces by Gu Fei's fists. Gu Fei was still fighting the 2 Buddhist almighties with ease. The battle prowess displayed by the puppet made the 2 Buddhist almighties fearful. They could vaguely guess that there was something wrong with Gu Fei's body because they could see that Gu Fei wasn't a saint. Since he wasn't a saint, how could he have a physique that was comparable to a saint weapon? The legendary saint-level puppet? Those who could become almighties were all peerless geniuses. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to sever their Tao to become almighties. Such existences were definitely ancient existences in the mortal realm. The old monk and the young monk had lived for countless years. Their knowledge was extraordinary. They quickly noticed the abnormality on Gu Fei's body. If Gu Fei was a saint, he would be able to kill all of them with a single move. Even if he possessed a saint weapon, the result would be the same. There was a fundamental difference between the power of a saint and a true saint. If a saint were to attack, even if he had a saint weapon, he would still be killed in an instant. This was because a saint's understanding of the great Tao was a gap that other cultivators couldn't surpass. The profundities of the great Tao could become an absolute killing force. Without reaching the level of a saint, one would never know how terrifying a saint was. Although Gu Fei was fighting the 2 Buddhist almighties, the thing that made him feel uneasy was the existence of the Buddhist almighties hiding in the dark. There were 3 Buddhist almighties overseeing the spiritual mountain. At this time, 2 of them had already made their moves. The last one had yet to make a move. This was a variable. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1374. Swoosh! 9 golden shadows appeared around Gu Fei with mighty Buddhist power. These 9 shadows were like 9 almighty Buddhists who suddenly appeared and surrounded Gu Fei. Gu Fei pointed out with his finger, wanting to destroy the large figure in front of him. However, the extremely sharp finger power passed through the illusory figure and was unable to destroy it. Gu Fei was taken aback. He soared into the sky, but the 9 illusory figures also soared into the sky. Like shadows, they continued to surround Gu Fei. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. The 5 elemental voids suddenly emerged from his body. 5 forces spread out and sucked the 9 illusory figures into the 5 elemental void. Rumble! The 5 elements void shook. Gu Fei used the power of the 5 elements to destroy the 9 shadows and continued to rush up. In the blink of an eye, he arrived near the mountain peak. Swoosh! Just when Gu Fei was near the mountain peak, the void around him suddenly collapsed. A strong force pulled him into a pitch black hole without any light. Oh no! Gu Fei was shocked. He knew that he had fallen into a trap. Someone had set up a killing trap and was waiting for him to rush into it. In the darkness, there was no sky or earth. He could not feel any aura or fluctuation. It was as if he had escaped from the 3 realms and was no longer within the 5 elements. Humph! Didn't you ask me to attack? I'm going to attack now. A voice suddenly appeared in the dark void. It turned out that the almighty Buddhists who were hiding in the dark had set up a killing trap. Shameless scoundrel! Gu Fei was shocked and angry. The almighty Buddhists in the dark had actually done such a thing. This was too despicable and unscrupulous. If I can kill you, what's the harm in being a little shameless? The voice of the powerful being from the Buddhist sect rang out. After that, the entire dark void started trembling as streams of chaos chi gushed towards Gu Fei from all directions. The power of destruction was vast and surging, able to destroy everything. Do you think you can kill me like this? Gu Fei's voice was incomparably cold. His killing intent soared into the sky. The despicable actions of the other party had completely infuriated him. Immortal energy erupted from his entire body, causing the entire dark space to split apart. Divine runes of the immortal Tao appeared on his body and then rushed out, interweaving in the space around him, forming a terrifying domain. Even the chaotic energy was blocked by Gu Fei's domain and couldn't get close to him. Saint-Tyr immortal Tao flying avatar, no wonder you dared to charge into the spirit mountain alone. The voice in the dark was very surprised. Gu Fei's battle prowess had already exceeded his expectations. Whoosh! Gu Fei didn't say anything. A beam of violet gold divine light surged from his brow, and an extremely powerful primordial spirit rippled out from within. Voom! In the next moment, a rumbling sound rang out in the void. A violet gold Tao sword shot out from between Gu Fei's brow, instantly tearing through the void and shooting out from the dark space. What? The person in the dark was shocked. He never expected Gu Fei to have such a method. He was sent into the dark void, and could still tear open the void. The aura of the outside world seeped in through the tear. Open! Gu Fei threw a punch at the crack that had been torn open by the primordial spirit Tao sword. The ferocious force of the punch caused the entire space to collapse. Then, a gap that was several tens of feet in size appeared. I can't let him out! Boom! A rumbling sound came from outside, and then a golden Buddha hand pressed towards the tear. In the palm of the Buddha's hand, there was a wan character that shone with blinding Buddhist light. You want to fight me head-on? Gu Fei couldn't help but laugh. He cultivated a supreme martial art, and his body was so strong that even connate divine beasts couldn't compare. He stepped forward and punched. It was a simple and direct punch, but the fist's force was unstoppable. It displayed an indomitable momentum. Bam! The entire dark void almost collapsed. The golden Buddha hand in front of him was shattered by Gu Fei's punch, and Gu Fei rushed out through the gap. Clang! The moment Gu Fei rushed out, a bell rang out. A bronze Buddha bell hung high in the sky, raining down a terrifying murderous sound that shattered the world. Roar! Gu Fei was caught off guard. All he heard was a buzzing sound in his ears, and he couldn't hear anything else. He was sent flying thousands of feet away with his hands over his head. Bam! A golden dragon shadow rushed over at this moment, sending Gu Fei flying thousands of meters away. His chest caved in. Even a Saint Tier puppet clone couldn't withstand such a ferocious attack. The full power of the three Buddhist powerhouses made Gu Fei dizzy for a moment. A figure hidden in the Buddhist light silently closed in on Gu Fei. It wanted to attack, but Gu Fei was alarmed. He used the void step and rushed forward. Swoosh! The primordial spirit Tao's sword appeared again. Purple gold sword light tore through the void, cutting towards the old and young monks. The 9 secrets of the immortal Tao again. Did you obtain the complete 9 secrets of the immortal Tao? The old monk said in shock. The old and young monks didn't dare to be careless. One had to know that each secret of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao contained heaven-defying divine might. They used their Buddhist holy weapons to protect themselves, but they were forced back by Gu Fei's primordial spirit Tao sword. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. He turned to face the Buddhist powerhouse hidden in the Buddhist light. All sorts of offensive battle techniques were unleashed, causing the entire world to crumble. The despicable Buddhist powerhouse had some skill. Faced with Gu Fei's wrath, he calmly dealt with it. He used his Buddhist techniques and actually blocked Gu Fei's attack. Gu Fei discovered that the layer of golden Buddhist light around the mysterious person was very mystical. It could actually block the power of a sainter attack. Was it also a holy weapon? Even with his martial Tao heavenly eye, Gu Fei found it difficult to see the face of the figure behind the Buddhist light. Swoosh! Fine threads of divine light rushed out from the layer of Buddhist light around the mysterious person. Like silk, they wrapped around Gu Fei. Gu Fei used his primordial spirit Tao sword to fend off the 2 Buddhist powerhouses. Then, he used his fists to fight the mysterious Buddhist powerhouse. In such a battle, a Saint Tier puppet didn't seem to have much of an advantage. He had a holy weapon, but so did his opponent. He struck out with the yin-yang reincarnation fist, dispersing all the golden threads that were wrapping around him. The fist force's momentum didn't reach its peak. It even struck the golden Buddhist light around the mysterious person. Bam! The mysterious person was sent flying thousands of feet away by Gu Fei's punch. He suffered a significant impact, and the layer of golden light around him dimmed, revealing a faint and illusory figure. To see the first advertisement, please go to target=_blank. Chapter 1375. Swoosh! 9 golden phantoms appeared around Gu Fei. Buddhist power surged. These 9 phantoms were like 9 almighty Buddhists who had suddenly appeared and surrounded Gu Fei. Gu Fei pointed out with his finger, wanting to destroy the large figure in front of him. However, the extremely sharp finger power passed through the illusory figure and was unable to destroy it. This, Gu Fei was taken aback. He soared into the sky, but the 9 illusory figures also soared into the sky. Like shadows, they continued to surround Gu Fei. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. The 5 elemental voids suddenly emerged from his body. 5 forces spread out and sucked the 9 illusory figures into the 5 elemental void. Rumble! The 5 elements void shook. Gu Fei used the power of the 5 elements to destroy the 9 shadows and continued to rush up. In the blink of an eye, he was near the mountain peak. Swoosh! Just when Gu Fei was near the mountain peak, the void around him suddenly collapsed. A strong force pulled him into a pitch-black hole without light. Damn it! Gu Fei was shocked. He knew that he had fallen into a trap. Someone had set up a killing trap and was waiting for him to rush into it. In the darkness, there was no sky or earth. He could not feel any aura or fluctuation. It was as if he had escaped from the three realms and was no longer within the five elements. Humph! Didn't you ask me to attack? I'm going to attack now. A voice suddenly appeared in the dark void. It turned out to be the killing trap set by the almighty Buddhists who were hiding in the dark. Shameless scoundrel! Gu Fei was both shocked and furious. The person in the dark was a great expert of the Buddhist sect, yet he actually acted in such a manner. This was truly too despicable and unscrupulous. What's the harm in being a little shameless if I can kill you? The voice of the powerful Buddhist cultivator rang out. After that, the entire dark space started trembling. Streams of chaos chi gushed towards Gu Fei from all directions. The power of destruction was vast and surging, able to destroy everything in its path. Do you think you can kill me like this? Gu Fei's voice was as cold as ice. His murderous intent soared to the sky. The despicable actions of the almighty Buddhist had thoroughly infuriated him. Immortal energy erupted from his body and pushed open the dark void. Divine runes of the immortal Tao appeared on his body and then rushed out, interweaving in the space around him, forming a terrifying domain. Even the primal chaos chi was blocked by Gu Fei's domain, making it difficult for him to get close. Saint-grade immortal ascension. No wonder you dared to charge into the spiritual mountain alone. The voice in the dark was very surprised. The battle prowess displayed by Gu Fei had exceeded his expectations. Swoosh! Gu Fei did not say anything. A beam of purple gold light surged from his forehead, and an extremely powerful ripple of the power of his soul spread out. Buzz! In the next moment, there was a rumble in the air. A violet gold sword of the way shot out from between Gu Fei's eyebrows, tearing through the air in an instant, and shooting out from the dark space. What? The person in the dark was taken aback. He had never thought that Gu Fei would have such a method. After being sent into the dark void, he was still able to break through the void. The aura of the outside world seeped into the crack. Open! Gu Fei threw a punch at the crack that had been torn open by the primordial spirit Tao's sword. The ferocious force of the punch caused the entire space to collapse. Then, a gap that was several tens of feet in size appeared. Don't let him come out! Boom! A rumble came from outside, and then a golden Buddha's hand pressed against the gap. In the palm of the Buddha's hand, there was a wan character that shone with blinding Buddhist light. You want to fight me head-on? Gu Fei could not help but laugh. He cultivated a supreme martial art, and his body was so strong that even connate divine beasts could not compare. He stepped forward and punched. It was a simple and direct punch, but the force of the fist was unstoppable. It displayed an unstoppable momentum. Bang! The entire dark void almost collapsed, and the golden Buddha's hand in front of him was shattered by Gu Fei's punch. Gu Fei rushed out through the gap. Clang! The moment Gu Fei rushed out, a bell rang. A bronze Buddha bell hung high in the sky, raining down a terrifying murderous sound that shattered the world. Roar! Gu Fei was caught off guard. All he heard was a buzzing sound in his ears, and he couldn't hear anything else. He was sent flying thousands of feet away with his hands over his head. Bang! At this moment, a golden dragon's shadow rushed over and directly knocked Gu Fei thousands of feet away, causing his chest to collapse. Even a Saint-Tyr puppet clone could not withstand such a ferocious attack. The full force of the three Buddhist powerhouses made Gu Fei dizzy for a moment. A figure hidden in the Buddhist light silently closed in on Gu Fei. It wanted to attack, but Gu Fei was alarmed. He used the void step and rushed forward. Swoosh! The primordial spirit Tao's sword appeared again. Purple gold sword light tore through the void, cutting towards the old and young monks. The 9 secrets of the immortal Tao again. Did you obtain the complete 9 secrets of the immortal Tao? The old monk said in shock. The old and young monks did not dare to be careless. One had to know that each secret of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao contained heaven-defying divine might. They used Buddhist holy weapons to protect themselves, but they were forced back by Gu Fei's primordial spirit Tao sword. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. He turned to face the Buddhist powerhouse hidden in the Buddhist light behind him. All sorts of offensive battle techniques were unleashed, causing the entire world to crumble. The despicable Buddhist powerhouse had some skill. Faced with Gu Fei's rage, he dealt with it calmly. He used Buddhist great techniques and actually blocked Gu Fei's attack. Gu Fei discovered that the layer of golden Buddhist light around the mysterious person was very mystical. It could actually block the power of a sainter attack. Was it also a holy weapon? Even with his martial Dao heavenly eye, Gu Fei found it difficult to see the face of the figure behind the Buddhist light. Swoosh! Thin threads of divine light rushed out from the layer of Buddhist light around the mysterious person, wrapping around Gu Fei like silk. Gu Fei used the primordial spirit Dao sword to fend off the two Buddhist powerhouses. Then, he used his fists to fight the mysterious Buddhist powerhouse. Saint-tier puppets seemed to have a hard time gaining any advantage in such a battle. He had a holy weapon, but so did the other party. He struck out with the yin-yang transmigration fist to disperse the golden threads that were wrapping around him. The fist force's momentum did not reach its peak. It even struck the golden Buddhist light around the mysterious person. Bang! The mysterious person was sent flying thousands of feet away by Gu Fei's punch. He suffered a significant impact, and the layer of golden light around him dimmed, revealing an ethereal figure. Target equals _blank. He punched out, and the dozen or so big stars that were rushing towards him immediately turned into a golden rain of light, dissipating between heaven and earth. He punched out, and another dozen or so golden big stars exploded. He charged through the golden sea of stars and pointed at the mysterious mighty being. The dazzling divine light immediately tore through the void and broke into the Buddha's light that covered the mysterious mighty being. Pfft! Golden blood splattered. The mysterious mighty being's shoulder was pierced by Gu Fei's finger light, and then he flew backward, trying to avoid Gu Fei's next attack. The mysterious mighty being was protected by the Buddhist sacred weapon, the great summer-glazed Buddhist light shield, but he was still injured. Gu Fei's saint-level avatar was a battle puppet refined by a great sage of the human clan. Its combat power was unparalleled. After Gu Fei's primordial spirit entered this saint-level avatar, the avatar's power gradually came under his complete control. He operated the 9 revolutions heaven art. 9 divine lights circled around his body. Each of them emitted a destructive power. Like a supreme immortal, they pressed towards the mysterious mighty being. The mysterious mighty being's means were too despicable. It aroused Gu Fei's killing intent. He wanted to kill this abominable guy first, and then deal with the 2 great Buddhist mighty beings behind him. Buddha's light illumination! The mysterious mighty being growled and operated the great summer-glazed Buddhist light shield with all his strength. A layer of bright Buddha's light immediately gushed out from his body. The next moment, the mysterious Buddhist mighty being seemed to have turned into a golden divine sun. His whole body emitted endless golden Buddha's light. The dazzling Buddha's light drowned Gu Fei. The Buddha's light contained a terrible power to subdue demons. Although Gu Fei was protected by the 5 elements void, he still seemed to hear thousands of Buddhas chanting sutras in his ears. Even his soul showed signs of being transcended. If an ordinary person was shrouded by this Buddha's light, he would have put down his butcher's knife and become a Buddha. However, Gu Fei was not an ordinary person. He could not let go of the butcher's knife in his heart. Roar! You want me to convert? Unless the ancient Buddhist Lord comes in person. Gu Fei roared again and again. He blasted out a punch. The fist force soared into the sky, broke through the layers of Buddha's light, hit outside, and broke the opponent's great technique. Swish! He did not hesitate, and directly rushed out from the broken place. At this time, the primordial spirit Dao sword had already been broken by the old monk and the young monk. He then rushed towards Gu Fei. Rumble! The evil subduing Vajra scepter in the old monk's hand turned into a golden true dragon. It emitted a supreme holy might, almost causing the entire heaven and earth to collapse. It fiercely pounced towards Gu Fei. Dang! The bronze Buddha bell let out a world-shaking Buddhist sound. The terrifying sound waves caused the entire heaven and earth to tremble. The killing sound formed could destroy everything. Any demon would be subdued. When the two holy weapons arrived, the terrifying Buddhist power sealed the entire heaven and earth. Gu Fei could not dodge at all. This was the powerful power of a sage. Even a sage would be shocked. Gu Fei was in danger. However, the stronger he became, the more dangerous the situation was. Only then could he fully unleash his potential. This was the most direct way to stimulate one's potential. His long hair fluttered wildly in the wind as he let out an angry roar that shook the mountains and rivers. His entire person seemed to have transformed into a war immortal. His eyes emitted a divine light that was several feet long as it swept over the two Buddhist almighties. "All right, then let's fight to our heart's content." Gu Fei's battle intent soared. He directly rushed forward and punched, dispersing the terrifying killing sound that was coming towards him. Then, he took a step forward and turned into a divine light. He streaked across the void like a meteor. Boom! He directly collided with the golden true dragon that was charging towards him. What? He is using his physical body to fight against a holy weapon! Is he crazy? Exclamations sounded everywhere. Everyone who saw this scene was stunned. This action of Gu Fei shocked everyone to the extreme. They could not believe what they saw in front of them. What was even more inconceivable was that the man, who had used his physical body to take on the sacred weapon of the Buddhist sect, did not die. The golden dragon was shattered and turned into a Vajra pestle that radiated with Buddhist light. It flew out. Gu Fei was also sent flying thousands of feet away by a powerful force. His entire sainter doppelganger seemed to be falling apart. Even his primordial spirit was almost beaten out. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1377. It had been many years since a battle between supreme existences took place on the spiritual mountain. The last time was when a supreme devil appeared in the desolate battlefield. The earth demon ancestor, Ingtian, once displayed his supreme demonic might and slaughtered his way up the spiritual mountain. In the end, he even alerted the Arhat of the heavenly Buddha sect and was chased away. The earth demon ancestor, Ingtian, was a supreme devil that was born in the primordial chaos. He possessed supreme demonic arts, but after being suppressed by the Buddhist sovereign for countless years, his cultivation base was mostly destroyed. It wasn't an easy matter to recover. After Ingtian, no one else dared to trespass the spiritual mountain. Until today, when Gu Fei's primordial spirit entered the saint-grade puppet and slaughtered his way up the mountain. The once-in-a-thousand-years Dharma exchange was being held. All the eminent monks of the West Earth Buddhism sect were gathered on the spiritual mountain. There were also 3 supreme existences guarding the mountain. Gu Fei dared to trespass the mountain at this time. This kind of courage was something no one else had. The 3 experts of the Buddhist clan joined hands with their divine weapons and fought against Gu Fei. Gu Fei's battle intent was like a rainbow, and he had gone berserk. He did not use the chaotic reversal secret technique, but instead used his supreme Tao technique to fight against the 3 experts. Clang! He ascended to the sky in a single step, appearing in front of the bronze bell. He then slammed his fist on the bell, causing it to cave in. A fist mark appeared where his fist landed. Clang! Gu Fei's fist landed on the same spot on the bell. The entire bell shook violently. The Buddhist Tao runes on its surface flickered, activating the power of the great Tao. The young monk was shocked. He hurriedly tried to control the bell, wanting to retract it. However, Gu Fei followed him like a shadow and punched the bell a 3rd time. Clang! The bronze bell shook and a large part of its body caved in. If it wasn't for the Buddhist Tao runes on the bell, it would have been pierced by Gu Fei. This holy weapon was knocked back by Gu Fei's 3rd punch. The young monk hurriedly retreated, but he still couldn't avoid it. Bam! The bronze bell fiercely smashed onto the young monk's body. A series of bone-cracking sounds rang out from the young monk's body as he was sent flying tens of thousands of meters away along with the bell, coughing out blood. What? Everyone on the spirited mountain was shocked. Was this person really an immortal cultivator? The combat skill that Gu Fei displayed caused them to be bewildered. This person clearly cultivated the power of the immortal Tao. However, what he displayed seemed to be the legendary martial arts and combat skills. Those were two different cultivation systems. Just as Gu Fei sent the young monk flying, the old monk controlled the demon subduing Vajra scepter and charged over. The shadow of a dragon could be faintly seen on the Vajra scepter, emitting a terrifying holy might. The old monk swung the scepter and smashed it towards Gu Fei. Bam! The terrifying power of the Vajra subduing demon subduing Vajra crushed the void between heaven and earth. If it wasn't for the Buddhist Tao runes that were imprinted on the spirited mountain, it would have been shattered by this attack. Kill! The divine light in Gu Fei's eyes was as bright as the sun. He did not dodge or evade, and directly waved his fist, facing the subduing devil Vajra that was smashing down. Boom! Gu Fei's fist collided with the subduing demon Vajra pestle, causing the void to be annihilated. The vast and mighty destructive power obliterated many of the Buddhist Tao patterns in the vicinity. Cracks began to appear on the mountains in the vicinity. Gu Fei was like a meteorite falling from the sky. The old monk's qi and blood were exuberant to the extreme. The power of this strike was extraordinary. It actually smashed Gu Fei down from the sky. As for the old monk, he was sent flying by Gu Fei's fist force. His hands that were holding the Vajra were trembling, and golden blood was seeping out of them. The old monk was incomparably shocked. The devil subduing Vajra pestle in his hand almost flew out of his hand. This demon! The old monk knew how terrifying Gu Fei was. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the Buddhist sacred weapon, the Vajra, he would have been killed on the spot. Boom! At this moment, Gu Fei fell from the sky, smashing a huge pit in the ground. The entire ground trembled violently, and dust flew up. Swish! When Gu Fei smashed to the ground, a ball of golden light rushed out from the mysterious Almighty's body. Then, it turned into a huge light shield that shrouded the place where Gu Fei landed. The Buddhist power was vast and mighty. The light shield instantly sank into the ground and quickly rushed out of the ground. When the light shield rushed out of the ground, there was already a figure trapped inside. At this moment, the golden light left the body, and the true appearance of the mysterious Almighty appeared in front of everyone. This mysterious Almighty was a tall and thin middle-aged monk. This monk was wearing a yellow monk robe. His face was sallow, as though he had just recovered from a serious illness. Sick monk? Someone recognized the tall and thin middle-aged monk. This sickly-looking monk was an expert of the Buddhist sections. He was known as the sick monk. Didn't he pass away in meditation 1,000 years ago? Why would he appear here? So this murderous Buddha never died. What he said about passing away in meditation was all fake. Many people discussed in low voices. Although the sick monk was an expert of the Buddhist sects, he didn't seem to be very popular. Many people called him the murderous Buddha. This was because the sick monk had a strong murderous nature. Whenever he encountered demons, there were only two situations that would happen. One, he would kill them, and the other, he would be killed by them. The sick monk used the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield to keep Gu Fei inside. Then, he sat down cross-legged and used all his strength to draw the power of the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield to refine Gu Fei inside. Immediately, ancient Buddhist Tao patterns appeared on the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield. The Tao patterns intertwined and triggered the power of the great Tao of Buddhism. Within the transparent golden light shield, traces of glazed Buddha fire appeared. The terrifying Buddhist light gradually gathered, and the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield immediately turned into a sea of fire. This was a type of Buddhist fire that could refine all demons in the world. As long as the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield was sucked into it, even a sage-level demon would be refined to death. Their bodies and souls would be destroyed. When they saw Gu Fei being sucked into the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield, countless Buddhist virtuous Buddhas on the entire spirited mountain secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Break for me! Gu Fei wouldn't just sit and wait for death. Immortal Tao energy surged throughout his body, and 9 beams of immortal light protected him inside. Even the glazed Buddha fire couldn't approach him. Boom! He punched out with all his strength. The ferocious fist force shook the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield, causing all the Buddhist Tao patterns on the shield to light up. However, the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield was a holy weapon. It was branded with Buddhist Tao patterns. Breaking it was definitely not an easy task. Gu Fei punched out 18 times in a row. Only then did the great Meru glazed Buddha light shield crack a dozen or so times. When the sickly monk saw this scene, his shock was no small matter. This person actually caused cracks to appear on the Buddhist holy weapon. Just how much strength did he need to achieve this? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1378. Inside the Buddhist temple at the peak of Mount Lingshan, He Tian wanted to take away the stone platform in the center of the temple. But just as He Tian moved the stone platform, a golden light descended from the sky and landed on the stone platform. A peaceful aura spread out from the golden light, and the temple immediately seemed to be filled with chanting and chanting, as if there were countless Buddhas preaching. Even people like Gu Fei and He Tian, who had a rock-solid state of mind, felt their souls tremble the moment the Buddhist chants entered their ears, and they almost fell into a trance. This is the legendary Buddha's light of salvation! He Tian was shocked. Even a half-step almighty like him was almost purified by the Buddha's energy waves from the Buddha's light, which really shocked him. Gu Fei was also shocked. The Buddha's light of salvation was indeed extraordinary. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already converted and entered the Buddhist sect. They were just stunned for a moment, and they were not really affected by the Buddha's light of salvation. After calming down, Gu Fei and He Tian knew that something was wrong. What is that? It's the Buddha's light of salvation. Who entered the temple? Is the heavenly Buddha path about to open? At this time, all the Buddhist disciples on Mount Lingshan felt a peaceful Buddhist energy wave spreading from the peak of Mount Lingshan. A golden Buddha's light of salvation descended from the sky and entered the temple. Someone had entered the temple, and even touched the platform, attracting the Buddha's light of salvation. The Buddha's light of salvation was the only way to enter the heavenly Buddha path, and this kind of Buddha's light of salvation would only appear when the heavenly Buddha path opened. However, the heavenly Buddha path had yet to open the Buddha's light of salvation, and this kind of situation had already happened, which was very rare. Buddha's light of salvation. A weak spiritual wave spread out from the platform, like a supreme Buddha's voice, actually suppressing the chanting and chanting in the void. This sentence was like a morning bell in the ears of Gu Fei and He Tian, giving them a feeling of enlightenment, and they were about to kneel down on the platform. Scary! Perverted Buddha Lord! Gu Fei and He Tian had no choice but to circulate their xianqi to fight against this Buddhist voice. They knew that this was the work of the Tao marks left by the ancient Buddha on the platform. The Tao marks were immortal and could still save all living beings. Even if an evil demon came here, he would probably be converted and become a Buddhist disciple. At this time, golden light covered the entire sacred hall, and golden lotuses surged out. Ancient Buddhist runes appeared in the void. This was an ancient Buddhist scripture that carried the great Tao. He Tian felt incomparably regretful. One by one, the ancient Buddhist runes disappeared in front of his eyes, but he couldn't catch anything. He could only watch as the most ancient scriptures disappeared in front of his eyes. Rumble! A golden door appeared in the sky above the peak of Spirited Mountain, and an even more powerful wave of Buddhist power spread out from the golden door. The gate of purgatory has opened. Seeing this scene, all the monks on the Spirited Mountain were moved. The heavenly Buddha Tao wasn't a place that anyone could enter. Those who could enter the legendary Supreme Buddha land were all people who had great affinity with Buddhism. Swish! One of the monks soared into the sky towards the gate of purgatory. When the others saw this, they also soared into the sky, wanting to enter the gate of purgatory. As long as one was a disciple of the Buddhist sect, they would want to enter the Supreme Buddha land. That was where the true inheritance of the ancient Buddhist Lord was. Legend had it that the Buddhist weapons used by the ancient Buddhist Lord were left in the heavenly Buddha Tao, waiting for the fated person to collect them. The Buddhists were the most particular about fate. When the first monk got close to the gate of purgatory, he was actually blocked by a gentle Buddhist power. He couldn't enter the gate. Boom! Right at this time, a world-shaking sound echoed from the waste of Spirited Mountain. The entire Spirited Mountain was shaking violently. A figure soared into the sky, and a terrifying immortal Tao power spread across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. What, that man broke free? At this time, everyone's attention was drawn over again. Everyone turned pale with fright. Wasn't that man already sealed in the great summer glaze Buddha light? How did he break free? The vast destructive power sent the sickly monk flying thousands of meters away. Golden Buddhist blood was flowing on his body, and his face was even more sallow than before. The great summer glaze Buddha light was actually broken. It was actually broken. The sickly monk didn't dare to believe what he was seeing, but it was happening right in front of his eyes. There was actually someone who could break a saint weapon, and this person wasn't even a true saint. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, the sickly monk wouldn't have believed that there was such a heaven-defying person in this world. Ha ha! All right. There's no need to act anymore. Gu Fei's sainter clone laughed heartily. The reason he was sucked into the great summer Buddha light was because he wanted to stall for time. His true body and He Tian could smoothly sneak up to the peak of Spirited Mountain and enter the most important place of the Buddhist sect in the West Earth, the Buddhist sect's Millennium Sacred Hall. What? What's going on? All the Buddhist disciples were confused. Quick, look! There's someone in the Buddha light. At this time, someone noticed that there were 2 people who were going against the Buddha light and trying to enter the gate of purgatory. Furthermore, those 2 people weren't Buddhist disciples. Why is this happening? Could it be that the Supreme Buddha Lord has approved of them? Has he allowed them to enter the true Buddhist land? Some people roared in anger, while others couldn't accept this reality and took action. Boom! The old monk controlling the devil-subduing Vajra scepter took action. The scepter transformed into a true dragon that soared tens of thousands of meters and opened its mouth to devour the 2 people in the Buddha light. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1379. The demon-subduing Vajra scepter was a Buddhist sacred weapon. The golden dragon it transformed into soared tens of thousands of feet into the sky, displaying a supreme holy might. The entire world trembled because of this holy might. Rumble. The void shook violently as the golden dragon soared into the sky. This was an unforgettable scene for everyone. The huge golden dragon was heading for Gu Fei and He Tian. Within the universal light of Buddha, Gu Fei and He Tian were going against the sky. Just as they were about to be guided into the universal gate, the golden dragon transformed from the demon-subduing Vajra scepter had already pounced over. These guys are really annoying! The holy might was vast and mighty. Although He Tian knew that Gu Fei would block this earth-shattering blow, he still felt frightened. It should be known that a full blow from a sacred weapon could sink a region and plunge billions of lives into misery and suffering. The void of the spiritual mountain was protected by a Buddhist formation that drew upon the power of the great Tao. Even so, it was shaken by this holy might. The Buddhist runes on the entire spiritual mountain lit up. All the Buddhist disciples on the mountain, except for the young monk with the sacred weapon and the sickly monk, knelt down as if they were worshipping the Supreme Buddha. They were extremely pious. Humph! Gu Fei's sainter flying body instantly disappeared from where he stood. It was extremely fast. Although the young monk had the sacred weapon, the bronze Buddhist bell, it was too late to stop him. He couldn't help but be shocked. He hurriedly controlled the bronze Buddhist bell and soared into the sky, rushing toward the universal gate in the sky. At this time, the sickly monk had already collected the broken Great Meru glazed light of Buddha. The broken Buddhist weapon still circulated a wisp of holy might. The great Tao imprint on the sacred weapon doesn't seem to have been completely destroyed. The sickly monk sensed this wisp of holy might, and couldn't help but be surprised and delighted. He hurriedly collected the broken pieces of the great Meru glazed light of Buddha and directly rushed out of the spiritual mountain. He wanted to find a place to try and repair this Buddhist sacred weapon. High up in the sky, below the universal gate, the giant golden dragon rushed down. He Tian, who was hiding behind Gu Fei, felt a great pressure and almost wanted to run away. However, Gu Fei was still as calm as ever. A brilliant golden light rushed out from his dantian and transformed into a heavenly blade that slashed at the golden dragon's head. An extremely sharp saber-chi rippled out from the golden heavenly saber. This was a saint-level ripple, and it directly split the heavens and the earth. Saint weapon? The old monk was shocked. He never imagined that his opponent would have a saint weapon. Moreover, he discovered that the person in the Buddha's light was exactly the same as the person he had just fought. This is that person's true self? The old monk was knowledgeable and immediately thought of the relationship between Gu Fei and his saint-level doppelganger. He was shocked and angry. Since this person dared to barge into Spirited Mountain, it seemed like he had a foolproof plan. Boom! The earth-shattering saber slashed at the giant golden dragon's head, and a loud explosion erupted, causing everyone's spiritual soul to tremble. Those with weaker cultivations directly fainted. This was a collision of saint-level powers. The golden holy saber was knocked away, and the giant golden dragon was also intercepted by the power of the holy saber. The dragon dissipated and turned into a demon-subduing Vajra that flew back into the old monk's hand. Gu Fei grabbed the golden holy saber in his hand, and then rushed into the sky with He Tian. They entered the Universal Gate and entered the legendary Supreme Buddhist land. Swoosh! An almost invisible figure followed closely behind Gu Fei and He Tian and also entered the Universal Gate. Rumble! The void trembled, and the Universal Gate began to close. The golden Buddha's light lingered, and a 10,000 Buddha seal appeared. An auspicious aura spread between heaven and earth. Roar! The old monk roared angrily, and his voice shook the sky. He held the demon-subduing Vajra in his hand and rushed into the sky, wanting to enter the legendary Supreme Buddhist land. However, from the Universal Gate, an irresistible Buddhist power surged out and blocked the old monk outside the Universal Gate. Swoosh! The young monk rode the bronze Buddha bell and rushed over, wanting to enter the Universal Gate. However, he encountered the same situation as the old monk. He was blocked outside by a Buddhist power. All the disciples of the Buddhist League were surprised and bewildered when they saw this scene. Why did the Universal Gate keep those two almighty experts of the Buddhist League out? Could it be that even the Buddhist almighty figures were not qualified to enter the Universal Gate, but those two outsiders were? How could this be? Could it be that those two are really fated with Buddha? Even the young monk and the old monk could not figure out what went wrong. Why did the universal light of Buddha bring those two outsiders into the heavenly Buddha path? Moreover, the Arhat of the heavenly Buddha path did not appear, and neither did Buddhist Lord Qinglian. All of this seemed a little abnormal, and some people had already realized this. The Dharma discussion that occurred once in 1,000 years was about to begin. As the current Buddhist Lord of West Earth, Buddhist Lord Qinglian should be guarding the peak of the spiritual mountain. However, such a huge commotion occurred on the spiritual mountain, and Buddhist Lord Qinglian did not appear. Could it be that Buddhist Lord Qinglian was no longer at the peak of the spiritual mountain? On the spiritual mountain, the group of Buddhist Vedanta could not calm down for a long time. The Dharma discussion that occurred once in 1,000 years had been disrupted by Gu Fei. It seemed like it would not be able to continue. In the end, the Universal Gate closed and disappeared into the void. During this process, many people flew up and rushed towards the Universal Gate in the sky, wanting to try their luck. However, no one was so lucky. All the experts of West Earth gathered on the spiritual mountain, but no one could enter the Universal Gate. It seemed like all the Buddhist disciples on the spiritual mountain were not fated to be Buddhists. At this time, Gu Fei and He Tian passed through the Universal Gate. Their eyes lit up, and then they were stunned by the scene in front of them. Behind the Universal Gate was a boundless void of heaven and earth. It was as if they had entered a real world. There was an ancient array platform under Gu Fei, He Tian, and his saint-grade clone. The platform was located in a valley, and it seemed to have been abandoned for a long time. Swoosh! Just as Gu Fei and the rest arrived at the legendary heavenly Buddha path, A wave of Buddhist energy came from afar. There were Buddhist experts approaching from afar. "Looks like they are here to receive us," Haitian said. The monks in the heavenly Buddha path sensed their arrival and broke the silence. "Let's go!" Gu Fei's saint-grade clone used the immortal Tao's great art and teleported himself and Haitian away. He did not want anyone to know of his existence. Just as Gu Fei and the others were about to leave, a figure wrapped in the golden Buddhist light rushed over. "Where is he?" It was a young monk about 20 years old. When the young monk arrived, his expression turned ugly. There was no one on the ancient array platform. "What's going on?" The young monk was very puzzled. To see the first episode without advertisements, please go to please share target equals _blank. Chapter 1380. Under the guidance of the Buddha's light of salvation, Gu Fei and Erebus successfully entered the supreme Buddhist land, the heavenly Buddhist path, which was refined by the Buddhist Lord for thousands of years. The heavenly Buddha path was indeed worthy of being called the supreme land of Buddha. This place was simply a fairyland. Spiritual mountains and peaks could be seen everywhere, decorated with spiritual springs and waterfalls. On top of many spiritual peaks, a corner of a red wall could be seen. The heaven and earth's spiritual energy here was much denser than the outside world. Any random place could be compared to a paradise in the mortal world. This was truly an unparalleled divine land. The supreme land of Buddha refined by the ancient Buddha was indeed extraordinary. If one cultivated in this place for a long time, it would definitely yield twice the result with half the effort. The speed of cultivation was much faster than other places. "There's actually such a place in this world!" Haitian exclaimed. The heavenly Buddha path was indeed the place where the heavenly Buddha resided. The foundation of Buddhism was truly terrifying. As long as this land of Buddha existed, it would be hard for Buddhism not to prosper. "That little monk just now was already a half-step almighty expert. How terrifying!" Gu Fei frowned. They knew that entering the heavenly Buddha path would definitely alert the Arhat inside. As expected, just as they entered the heavenly Buddha path, a little monk came to receive them. Fortunately, they had already left in advance. Otherwise, they would have been discovered by that little monk. "The spiritual energy here is so dense. Could there be a real Buddhist saint here?" Haitian's heart palpitated. A little monk's cultivation was already a half-step almighty expert. This was too shocking. One had to know that half-step almighty experts, even in the heavenly realm, were incomparably powerful existences, second only to the heavenly realm's almighty emperors. In the 3 realms and 6 Taos, sages are extinct. This place should be no exception. Although Gu Fei said so, he himself was uncertain. After all, this was the heavenly Buddha path, the supreme land of Buddha refined by the ancient Buddha. Legend has it that the ancient Buddha's personal disciple had already cultivated the body of a Buddhist saint. If there was a real Arhat guarding this place, it would break the heaven and earth law of the 3 realms and 6 Das. "Boss, what should we do next?" Haitian asked. At this time, Gu Fei had already put away his saint-level puppet avatar. They were now in a valley that was flourishing with flowers. The valley was filled with the singing of birds and the fragrance of flowers. It was a peaceful scene. "Let's take it one step at a time," Gu Fei said. He didn't have any ideas. The heavenly Buddha path was the most important place in the West Earth Buddhist sect. He didn't expect to enter the heavenly Buddha path so easily. Up until now, Gu Fei still couldn't make heads or tails of it. Why would the legendary Buddha light of salvation acknowledge him, guiding him into the heavenly Buddha path? Could it be? Gu Fei thought of a possibility. He had once collected the 3 great Buddhist weapons. Could it be that he had been contaminated with the Buddhist aura of the 3 great Buddhist weapons, and that was why he was recognized by the universal Buddha light? That seemed to be the only possibility. As for why Haitian was also guided into the heavenly Buddha path by the universal Buddha light, Gu Fei couldn't figure it out. Haitian had never refined a supreme Buddhist weapon before. One had to admit, The heavenly Buddha path was definitely comparable to a great world, a perfect world. It was hard to imagine that such a place was actually refined by the ancient Buddhist Lord with supreme divine ability. Gu Fei and He Tian began to move deeper into this world. They discovered that there were many places where spiritual energy gathered, and there were experts cultivating in seclusion. There were many Buddhist experts in the heavenly Buddha path. Gu Fei didn't want to alarm these people. They didn't want to beat the grass and alert the snake. Otherwise, they would be in trouble. Some people said that in this heavenly Buddha path, there was a supreme Buddhist weapon refined by the ancient Buddhist Lord. If this supreme Buddhist weapon fell into the hands of the people here, it would definitely be a great threat to Gu Fei and the others. Boss, I'm afraid we're in trouble. When Gu Fei and the others arrived in front of a mountain, He Tian suddenly said such words. This made Gu Fei startled, and then he also felt something strange. He felt that there seemed to be a pair of eyes spying on them. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. His gaze fell on a dilapidated ancient temple at the foot of the mountain. The ancient temple had been in disrepair for many years, and half of it had collapsed. The Buddha statues inside had almost all collapsed. Only a life-sized Buddha statue in the middle seemed to be intact. Stop pretending to be mysterious, come out for me! As Gu Fei said that, a purple-gold divine light emerged from between his eyebrows and swept towards the Buddha statue in the ancient temple. Immediately, a layer of Buddhist light appeared on the statue, blocking Gu Fei's purple-gold divine light. Then, cracks began to appear on the Buddha statue, and dirt began to fall from its body. A short, scrawny man with unkempt hair and a dirty face appeared in front of Gu Fei and Erebus. This person actually sealed himself inside the Buddha statue. Could he be one of the monks of the Buddhist sects? Who are you? He Tian's voice was cold. He didn't expect to meet someone from the Buddhist sects at the foot of this mountain. Moreover, the other party was not a weakling. Who? That person ignored Erebus. Instead, he let out a long sigh and stretched lazily. Then, he stood up from the divine altar and patted the dust off his body. Swoosh! He Tian pointed a finger at the man, and a dazzling divine light rushed out from the tip of his finger and shot towards the man. He wanted to test the strength of this mysterious man. The man seemed to bend his waist casually, and the divine light shot by He Tian immediately brushed past him. He Tian couldn't help but feel a little dumbfounded. This guy was really unfathomable. He could dodge the attack of a half-step almighty without leaving a trace. This person's cultivation was really terrifying. Humph! He Tian sneered. He stomped on the ground and shot into the sky. He extended his hand and directly slapped at the ancient temple below. The power of yin and yang intertwined on his palm and condensed into a huge hand. It shrouded a part of the world and slapped at the mysterious man in the ancient temple. Rumble! The mighty power of yin and yang from the huge hand shook the void, and the dilapidated ancient temple immediately collapsed, filling the air with dust. Swoosh! At this moment, the mysterious man could no longer remain calm. A mass of Buddhist light surged out of his skinny body and enveloped him within it. Boom! He Tian's huge hand slapped down and slapped the mysterious man into the ground. The entire ground shook violently, and a huge palm print appeared on the ground. Is he dead? He Tian was shocked. This mysterious man who came out of the Buddha statue shouldn't be killed so easily. He knew his own strength very well. Watch out! Suddenly, Gu Fei shouted and grabbed He Tian. He swung his hand and threw He Tian away. At this moment, a huge golden hand broke out of the ground where He Tian was standing. If Gu Fei's reaction had been slightly slower, He Tian would have been caught by the golden hand that broke out of the ground. Even if he didn't die, he would probably have lost a layer of skin. Bang! The ground exploded, and a small figure rushed out of the ground. An auspicious Buddhist power appeared between heaven and earth, and the Buddhist light flowed on this person's body. Eat my fist! Gu Fei took a step forward, causing the ground to tremble. His right fist directly punched towards the skinny figure. A violent fist force erupted from his fist, displaying an indomitable momentum. Huh! When the mysterious man saw Gu Fei's punch, his golden pupils couldn't help but shrink. This was an invincible fist intent, which made him feel that it was difficult to resist. Swoosh! The man dodged and wanted to avoid Gu Fei's punch, dissipate his fist intent, and then attack. This was a kind of combat experience. However, Gu Fei was like a shadow, and his Qi-Ji had already locked on to the mysterious man. When he punched, he would never stop until he hit the target. What? The man was obviously very surprised. Chapter 1381. The Heavenly Buddha Path was said to be the supreme land of Buddhism opened up by the ancient Buddhist Lord. This was the true paradise that all Buddhist disciples wanted to enter. However, 2 uninvited guests had come to this true paradise in the eyes of Buddhist disciples. Within the Heavenly Buddha Path, a mountain towered over the land. It was much taller than the other mountains. It was the tallest mountain Gu Fei and the others had seen since entering the Heavenly Buddha Path. This was the central region of the Heavenly Buddha Path. There were many temples on the mountains, and they were all ancient temples. Most of them had been abandoned. Rumble! The mountain shook. At this moment, at the foot of the mountain, Buddhist light shone. A golden Buddha hand, like the hand of heaven, descended from the sky and grabbed at Gu Fei. The powerful Buddhist power shook the world. The sloppy monk who came out of the Buddha statue was a peerless expert. A blurry Buddha shadow emerged from his body, displaying the supreme Buddhist technique. Swoosh! A purple gold divine light rushed out from between Gu Fei's eyebrows and turned into a Tao sword. It pierced through the Buddha hand, and a sharp sword chi wave immediately spread out. This was one of the 9 secrets of the immortal path, the sword of the primordial soul. The Tao sword contained a wisp of immortal path power. Wherever it passed, the world and the void would be annihilated silently. Secret technique of the immortal path? The sloppy monk was shocked when he saw it. The other party had actually cultivated this secret technique. He was afraid that the other party had a powerful background. He had to be cautious. He recognized the great technique that Gu Fei had displayed. However, the golden Buddha hand did not stop. It continued to grab at Gu Fei, and instantly collided with the sword of the primordial soul. This was a collision between Buddhist power and immortal power. Swoosh! The sword of the primordial soul pierced through the palm of the golden Buddha hand. The golden Buddha hand was easily pierced by the sword of the primordial soul. The sloppy monk was shocked again. The divine technique of the immortal path that the other party had displayed was much more powerful than he had imagined. It contained the power of the immortal path and was extremely terrifying. Buddha is with me! The sloppy monk shouted, and the Buddhist light emitted from his body immediately flourished. The dazzling Buddhist light dyed the entire world golden. Rumble! The void shook and the Buddhist light that emerged from the sloppy monk's body became more solid. It was as if a supreme Buddha was about to come out of the void. The sloppy monk drew on the boundless Buddhist energy. The Buddha image that appeared on his body emitted a terrifying fluctuation, causing Gu Fei to feel a great pressure. Why do I feel like a supreme being is watching us? He Tian hid behind Gu Fei and said with a trembling voice. There's something strange about this guy. Gu Fei also had the same feeling. It was as if the Buddha image on the sloppy monk's body was alive, which made him feel incredulous. The power of the Buddhist Tao that emanated from the sloppy monk's body sent Gu Fei's primordial spirit Tao sword flying. Buddhist light illuminated the heavens and earth. Swish! The primordial spirit Tao sword flew back and entered the center of Gu Fei's eyebrows. It returned to his Naiwan palace and turned into a pure primordial spirit power. At this moment, the sloppy monk looked solemn. His entire body was emitting Buddhist light. The sound of chanting seemed to be lingering in the void, and auspicious Buddhist energy rippled. Is this guy really possessed by a Buddha Lord? When He Tian saw this scene, he couldn't help but feel bewildered. The aura that emanated from the sloppy monk's body was actually very different from before. So what if he's possessed by a real Buddha Lord? As Gu Fei spoke, He took a step forward and blasted a punch at the sloppy monk in front of him. It was an ordinary punch, but it was extraordinary. An invincible battle intent emanated from Gu Fei's body. This battle intent caused the sloppy monk's expression to change. It made him feel that it was difficult to dodge, forcing him to confront Gu Fei head-on. Great Buddha's hand! The sloppy monk flipped his hands outwards, and a Buddhist light erupted from his hands. Within the Buddhist light, there was a 10,000 Buddhist seal. Bang! Gu Fei's fist collided with the Buddha's hand. A violent fist force erupted, and the golden Buddha's hand couldn't resist it. The nearby void was shaken, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. The Buddha's hand was shattered, and Gu Fei's invincible fist force also dissipated. Bang! A strong force shook Gu Fei and made him take a step back. Under his feet, the entire ground shook. Even the mountain was shaking, and many stones and dust rolled down from the mountain. The sloppy monk was also shaken back. Although he was a pinnacle Buddhist almighty, he was still shaken by Gu Fei's fist force and was forced to take a dozen steps back. Who the hell are you? The sloppy monk's expression was incomparably solemn. The two uninvited guests in front of him were not weak, especially the young cultivator, who was even more terrifying. He actually couldn't see through the young cultivator's cultivation base. Who we are is none of your business, but I can tell you for sure that we are not people of the Buddhist path, Haitian said. How can someone who is not a Buddhist path disciple enter the heavenly Buddha path? You have to know that those who enter the heavenly Buddha path are all people who are fated with Buddhism. The sloppy monk was bewildered. He could sense the aura of these two people, and he knew that what they said was true. This really made him unable to believe the scene in front of him. At this time, several powerful auras appeared in the distance. The battle between Gu Fei and the sloppy monk had alarmed some Buddhist experts who were cultivating in seclusion in the nearby area. These people didn't directly attack Gu Fei, but stopped at a distance. They were actually planning to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. No one was willing to help at this time. The Buddhist path of the West Earth wasn't a monolithic block. The internal struggles of the Buddhist path were more complicated. Even in the heavenly Buddha path, there were several forces. When these Buddhist experts saw Gu Fei and Haitian, they couldn't help but be stunned. Gu Fei and Haitian weren't disciples of the Buddhist path. How could there be outsiders in this world? Kill! Gu Fei bellowed. His long hair fluttered in the wind as he took a step forward. As he waved his hands, illusory sword shadows flew out from his palms. Swoosh! 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 This was simply like 10,000 swords attacking at the same time, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Each sword shadow emitted an incomparably powerful sword chi fluctuation. Under the impact of the cold sword chi, the temperature of the entire world plummeted. Buddhist kingdom in a palm! The sloppy monk roared, his hands moving in front of him. Rings of Buddhist energy spread out from his hands, causing the void to tremble. Above his hands there seemed to be a world evolving. This was a supreme technique that could open up the void of a world. The endless sword shadows pierced through, but they were actually swallowed by the endless void that evolved from the sloppy monk's hands. Heavenly Buddha descends! The sloppy monk flipped his hands, and the endless sword shadows that were absorbed into the Buddhist kingdom in a palm were immediately obliterated. Then, like a supreme Buddha, his entire body surged with Buddhist energy, suppressing towards Gu Fei. This guy was both Buddha and himself. The Buddha's shadow on his body also opened its eyes. Two resplendent golden lights shot out from the eyes of the Buddha's shadow, sweeping towards Gu Fei. The Buddha's shadow actually seemed to have a life of its own. This caused Gu Fei and Haitian to feel uneasy. Why would such a phenomenon appear on the sloppy monk's body? Rumble, rumble. Terrifying power rained down from the sky. The waves emitted by the Buddha's shadow were so powerful that the entire world seemed to be collapsing. Gu Fei grabbed Haitian, who was behind him, and threw him out. In a battle of this level, he could not help at all. Instead, Gu Fei had to divert his attention to protect him. Boss! Haitian's body flew hundreds of miles away. Only then did he stop in the void, stopping high in the sky. Just as Tian steadied himself, the figures around him flashed. The Buddhist experts, who had been watching the show, had already surrounded Tian in an instant. Tian could not help but feel shocked when he saw the situation. There were 4 bald men surrounding him, and none of them were weak. Among the 4 of them, some had just broken through to the Almighty Realm, while others had white hair and beard. They had cut their way a long time ago, and no one knew how long they had been trapped. Buzz! The mass of starlight above Tian's head suddenly vibrated, and an extremely powerful force spread out from the mass of starlight. The 4 Buddhist almighties were shocked and quickly retreated. This was the powerful force of an almighty realm, and it was enough to pose a threat to the 4 Buddhist almighties. Let's go! Tian knew that he was no match for the 4 Buddhist almighties. After forcing them to retreat, he immediately fled and rushed out of the encirclement of the 4 Buddhist almighties. After him! The 4 Buddhist almighties quickly rode on the conveyance light and chased after Tian. The 4 Buddhist lights were like 4 shocking rainbows that quickly swept across the sky and quickly disappeared into the mountains. Damn it! Gu Fei could not help but feel a little anxious when he saw that Tian had fallen into the celestial realm. However, the sloppy monk's descent of the heavenly Buddha was too powerful. He used all his skills and finally used the anti-void secret technique. His body merged with the void, and only then did he rush out from under the supreme Buddha that the sloppy monk had transformed into. He used the void steps and chased in the direction where Tian and the 4 Buddhist almighties had disappeared. Tian was only a half-step almighty realm, and he had not cut his way. If the 4 Buddhist almighties caught up to him, he would probably be killed on the spot. Where do you think you're going? The sloppy monk put away his Buddha body, and then chased after Gu Fei. Both of them were extremely fast, and they quickly disappeared into the mountains. Soon, there was a terrifying fluctuation in the depths of the mountains. It had become a battlefield, and countless birds and beasts fled from the mountains in fear. This was the fluctuation of the power of a sage, and it shocked the heavens. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1382. Gu Fei and the sloppy monk fought their way into the mountains. Buddhist energy and immortal energy surged, shaking the earth, and the mountains were on the verge of collapsing. If not for the heavenly Buddha path, with the protection of the ancient Buddhist Lord, this place would have been destroyed. One must know that a battle between supreme experts was enough to destroy an entire region. Despite the commotion caused by the battle between Gu Fei and the sloppy monk, no other experts from the heavenly Buddha path appeared. The true experts had yet to show themselves. At this time, Tian was being pursued by 4 supreme experts from the Buddhist sections. Fortunately, he was proficient in array formations and could borrow the power of heaven and earth to neutralize the attacks from the 4 supreme experts. Rumble! Tian landed on a mountain surrounded by mountains. The moment his feet touched the ground, the mountains around him began to shake. Then, a draconic energy that looked like a huge dragon rushed out from each of the mountains. The heavenly Buddha path was filled with spiritual lands everywhere. The terrain here was very particular. There was a main peak in the middle, surrounded by 8 smaller peaks. The 8 smaller peaks were like dragon heads, and the mountain body was like the body of a dragon. This kind of terrain was a rare place where the dragon veins converged. If there was enough time, there was a chance for a Xiantian true dragon to be born from the earth here. The power of the dragon veins was triggered by Tian. 8 streams of dragon chi soared into the sky, taking the form of dragons. A terrifying draconic might surged out, pouncing towards the 4 supreme experts from the Buddhist sections. What? The 8 dragons soared into the sky, causing the weather to change. The 4 supreme experts from the Buddhist sects were shocked. This was a type of heaven and earth energy that was manipulated by someone and turned into a killing move. Dragon subduing seal! One of the supreme experts formed a Buddhist seal with both hands. Boom! A great golden seal appeared high up in the sky. Boundless Buddhist energy rippled down, and pressed down on the 8 dragons that were soaring up into the sky. Bang! The golden seal collided with the 8 dragons, causing the entire heaven and earth to collapse. The place of impact was turned into chaos, and ancient Buddhist runes could be vaguely seen on the golden seal. This was an ancient art of the Buddhist sects that had the power to subdue dragons. The 8 dragons were actually blocked by the golden seal, causing He Tian to be shocked. Roar! Dragon roars shook the sky. Within the chaos, the 8 dragons danced. The dragon vein's essence energy rose continuously from the 8 peaks, replenishing the drained dragon's essence energy. Kill! Mahakala soared into the sky, drawing the 9th draconic energy to his body. He transformed into a chaos dragon that was tens of thousands of feet long and charged toward the 4 mighty figures of the Buddhist League in the sky. A terrifying dragon chi surged through the world. This power caused the expressions of the 4 Buddhist sects to change. That was because this was the power of the world. It was vast and unstoppable. Boom! With a loud bang, the giant dragon raised its head and directly knocked away the golden Buddha seal that was suppressing the sky. The Almighty who had condensed the Buddha seal of subduing the dragon immediately vomited blood and was sent flying. Drops of golden Buddha blood fell from the sky, and each drop was releasing golden Buddha light. But after a cultivator severed their Tao, their body would undergo a qualitative transformation. The bodies of the great cultivators of the Buddhist path were no longer mortal, and their blood would turn golden. A single drop of Buddhist blood contained enough Buddhist power to kill immortals and gods. What? The dragon He Tian transformed into actually knocked away the dragon subduing seal. This caused the other 3 supreme experts to be shocked. The opponent was only a half-step supreme expert, but he was actually able to display such power. It was truly heaven-defying. Expansive heavenly law net! The 3 supreme experts roared in unison. They turned into 3 rays of Buddhist light and charged in 3 different directions. Each of them took a direction and formed a seal with both hands, causing their bodies to radiate boundless Buddhist light. Boundless Buddhist light condensed and intertwined with each other. A huge golden net appeared in the sky, covering the entire sky. Then, it enveloped the dragon that He Tian transformed into. At this time, the 8 dragon shadows also rushed over. They were drawn to He Tian's body. With the 8 dragons gathered, his combat strength instantly increased by several times. Roar! He roared towards the sky. A single roar tore through the void, causing the mountains to shake violently. Boulders and dust rolled down from the mountains. The mountain was in chaos. Some of the wild beasts were alarmed and fled the mountain in panic. A formation diagram appeared in He Tian's body. His body was like a boundless heaven and earth, able to devour the boundless earth dragon chi. This was his unique mystic art. With his body in the formation, he could fight those above him. This devil! The supreme experts of the Buddhist sect were shocked. Such shocking combat strength was terrifying to the extreme. They found it hard to imagine how he was able to control such power. Dragon subduing seal! The almighty Buddhist cultivator who had been sent flying charged back, unleashing the Buddhist school's dragon-subduing Buddhist seal, which slammed into the all-heaven Dharma net and crushed down toward Mahakala. The 4 supreme experts of the Buddhist sect attacked with all their strength without holding anything back. The entire heaven and earth was sealed by powerful Buddhist energy, cutting off all paths of retreat for He Tian. However, He Tian had no intention of escaping. The current him would even dare to fight against a peak supreme expert. Not to mention that the 4 supreme experts of the Buddhist sect weren't peak experts. Even if the 4 of them joined forces, they still wouldn't be able to deal with the sloppy monk. Open for me! Mahakala channeled boundless draconic energy of the earth, which transformed into 2 huge dragon claws that tore at the golden net. The net shuddered, and a hole was torn in it. Boom! The dragon's subduing seal pressed down. Golden Buddhist light lit up the heaven and earth. Terrifying Buddhist energy rippled from the seal, blocking He Tian who was about to rush out of the hole in the highest heaven law net. Damn it! Seeing that his escape was blocked, He Tian was enraged. He directly punched at the dragon's subduing seal. The violent power blocked the dragon's subduing seal. The combined forces of the four supreme experts of the Buddhist sect made He-Tian feel a great deal of pressure. After all, they were supreme experts of the Tao-severing Buddhist sect. He was only able to compete with them with the help of the formation. If Erebus were to rely on his own cultivation, he would definitely not be a match for one of them, let alone all four of them at the same time. The fierce battle began. He-Tian drew the earth dragon chi into his body. Sometimes he turned into a real dragon, and sometimes he attacked with his real body. Every move he made tore the void and pierced through the heaven and earth. The highest heaven law net was torn to pieces, and the dragon's subduing seal was broken more than a dozen times. The four supreme experts of the Buddhist sect all suffered different degrees of impact, and their Buddha bodies were injured. Erebus wasn't having a good time either. It wasn't easy to control the dragon chi of the earth. Using this borrowed power was very taxing on one's mind. During the battle, his body was hit by the dragon's subduing seal several times. The injuries he suffered were definitely not lighter than those of the four supreme experts of the Buddhist sect. At this time, both sides knew that if the battle continued, it would definitely end in a situation where both sides would suffer. Roar! Again! He-Tian was furious. He rushed into the sky again. His body turned into a huge dragon, and his killing intent soared. He attacked the four supreme experts of the Buddhist sect. This kind of fierce fighting intent made the hearts of the four supreme experts of the Buddhist sect palpitate. To see the first commercial, please go to target equals _blank. Chapter 1383. He-Tian went berserk, and the consequences were dire. He desperately channeled the array formation in his body, guiding the earth dragon chi, causing the spiritual energy in this spiritual land to rush towards him. Exclamation point. Roar! He-Tian's black hair fluttered in the wind. With a single roar, mountains and rivers crumbled, and dark spatial cracks appeared in the void. If it weren't for the protection of the ancient Buddhist lords, the entire area would have been shattered by He-Tian's roar. Kill! The silhouette of a dragon emerged from He-Tian's body as he charged towards the four Buddhist masters. Bam! A fist blasted out, shaking the heaven and earth. The ferocious force caused the void in front of him to collapse. This was a destructive punch that carried the momentum of heaven and earth forward. Without any suspense, a middle-aged monk in a white moon robe was sent flying several thousand jang away, golden Buddhist blood splattering from the sky. Too strong. The other three Buddhist masters' expressions changed. At this time, something big was happening in the heavenly Buddha sect. Even if the battle here turned the sky and earth upside down, no one would come to help. Dragon subduing seal! The Buddhist almighty being with the highest cultivation base was an old monk. He formed a Buddhist seal and displayed an ancient Buddhist technique. Boom! The void trembled as a golden seal appeared high up in the sky, surging with Buddhist energy. After severing the Tao, a Buddhist master could draw a trace of the grand Tao for their own use. On the golden Buddhist seal, Buddhist Tao runes flickered, emitting a terrifying fluctuation. I don't care what seal you are, I will shatter it with one punch! He-Tian's momentum was unparalleled. He swung his fist at the golden Buddhist seal that was pressing down from the sky. The golden Buddhist seal was as big as a mountain, crushing the void below. Under this golden Buddhist seal, He-Tian's fist was too small, like an ant trying to shake a tree. He was simply courting death. However, it was this small fist that shook the mountain. The power of Mahakala's fist contained the aura of the 9 dragons. Even if it was a real ancient divine mountain, it would still explode if it was hit by his fist. Rumble! The golden Buddha seal was disintegrating, and the golden Buddhist Tao patterns were dissipating. Specks of Buddha light shot out in all directions like countless golden meteors streaking across the void. The old monk was sent flying. Golden Buddha blood had soaked the front of his clothes. The violent impact had almost shattered his body, causing him to be severely injured. The other 2 almighty Buddhists, who were about to attack, were knocked thousands of meters away by the mighty destructive power that spread in all directions, and a trace of golden blood seeped out of the corners of their mouths. Go! The hearts of the four great figures of the Buddhist school were connected. They turned around and fled immediately. The other party had fused together with the world. Below the ground was the place where the dragon veins of this region gathered. This person was already in an invincible position. If they fought with this person in this place, they would only be at a disadvantage. The four Buddhist almighties were very decisive. They all turned into a ray of Buddhist light and disappeared into the distance. Haitian, however, did not dare to leave this place. If he did, he would be beaten back to his original form. Slow down and I'll cripple you. Haitian stood in the void, his battle intent endless. At this time, he used the matrix to draw the power of the 9 dragons to his body, giving him the combat power to go against the heavens and fight almighty figures. However, he knew very well that this was borrowed power, and it could not exist forever. Once he left this place, he would lose the endless dragon chi here to replenish him. The power of the 9 dragons would not last long and would gradually disappear. Just as Haitian defeated the 4 great figures of the Buddhist school, a terrifying saint-level wave came from another direction. In the depths of the mountains, the battle between Gu Fei and the sloppy monk had also reached a white-hot stage. Buddha is with me. The sloppy monk displayed the supreme Buddhist mystique. It was as if he had turned into a supreme Buddha, fighting endlessly with Gu Fei. The golden Buddha shadow was thousands of meters tall. It was like a golden god, and with every move it made, the entire world was torn apart. This was a type of Dharma of heaven and earth. However, when the sloppy monk, who was at the pinnacle of the almighty figure level, used it, it displayed earth-shattering power. Buddha's hand. The golden Buddha's shadow stretched out a big hand and slapped it towards Gu Fei. In the palm of the Buddha's hand there was a 10,000 Buddha seal that emitted infinite Buddha light, and the mighty Buddha power of the saint-level wave. Yin-yang reincarnation fist. Gu Fei clenched his fists and displayed his self-created battle technique. An invincible fist will spread out from his body. His right hand was yang, and his left was yin. The yang fist emitted a bright white light, as if a divine sun had appeared between heaven and earth. The powerful fist force erupted from Gu Fei's yang fist and directly met the Buddha's hand. Boom! Gu Fei's yang fist collided with the Buddha's hand. This was simply like 2 ancient divine mountains colliding. The void was instantly pierced, and the destructive power spread out, causing the surrounding mountains to collapse. Even if the Buddha world had the power of the ancient Buddha Lord protecting it, it was difficult to completely offset the power of the saint level. The surrounding area was filled with traces of a great battle. Broken mountains, collapsed mountains, and evaporated lakes. All of this was caused by Gu Fei and the sloppy monk. Gu Fei had already activated the power of the holy weapon. The golden aura on his body was vast. This was the power of the golden holy saber. Gu Fei's yang fist blocked the Buddha's hand. The fierce fist force was enough to penetrate the heaven and earth, but it was unable to disperse the Buddha's hand. It only forced the Buddha's hand to retreat. The power of the Buddha's hand was too terrifying. It should be known that Gu Fei was already a mighty figure. Even a pinnacle mighty figure would not be able to withstand a punch from him. The martial ancestor's lineage. The sloppy monk's knowledge was also extraordinary. At this point in the battle, he had already seen through Gu Fei's background. What Gu Fei displayed was a martial arts battle technique. This was a cultivation system created by the supreme martial ancestor. This was a path that could allow one to become a sage. If one cultivated to the highest realm, they might even become the second martial ancestor. Kill! Gu Fei pressed forward with an indomitable will. He punched out with the yang fist, followed by the yin fist in his left hand. The power of the true yin was vast, and an extremely cold aura spread from his fist. The power of the true yin could freeze thousands of miles. When Gu Fei punched out, the void was frozen. Even the movement of the 1,000-foot Buddha figure stopped for a moment. Boundless Buddha fire! The sloppy monk's voice sounded. Then, on the 1,000-foot Buddha figure, tens of thousands of Buddha fire emerged, turning the place into a golden sea of fire. The mighty Yin Fist force of Gu Fei's Yin Fist was blocked by the Buddha fire. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. He ignored the Buddha fire and directly charged into the sea of fire. The fist force of his left fist instantly rose to the extreme. Endless black aura erupted from his fist, and the Buddha fire immediately dimmed. Bam! Gu Fei used the void step and was extremely fast. In an instant, he appeared in front of the 1,000-foot Buddha figure and punched it with his left fist. To see the first episode without advertisements, please go to target=_blank. Chapter 1384. The battle between Gu Fei and the sloppy monk shook the entire area. The 1,000-foot Buddha's shadow shattered everything, and the sloppy monk displayed the Dharma form of heaven and earth. Gu Fei executed the yin-yang reincarnation fist, stepped on the void steps, and instantly appeared in front of the 1,000-foot Buddha shadow. His left fist ruthlessly punched the 1,000-foot Buddha shadow. The moment the fist was punched, the power of extreme yin in Gu Fei's left fist erupted like a volcano. The 1,000-foot Buddha's shadow suddenly froze. The power of extreme yin could freeze thousands of miles. Gu Fei used his full strength to freeze the 1,000-foot Buddha's shadow. Even the Dharma form of heaven and earth was frozen. Bam! Gu Fei followed up with his right fist. The power of extreme yang exploded, shattering the 1,000-foot Buddha's shadow into thousands of pieces that shot out in all directions. The 1,000-zhang tall Buddha's shadow had been shattered just like that. Didn't that mean that the sloppy monk inside the Buddha's shadow had also died from the blow? If that was the case, Gu Fei's battle record would be comparable to that of the legendary Extreme Path figure. When an Extreme Path figure matured, he would be invincible among those of the same level. Is he dead? The golden fragments danced in the air, like a perfect ice sculpture that had been shattered. Gu Fei's punch seemed to have destroyed everything. However, Gu Fei didn't let his guard down. A pinnacle existence like the sloppy monk shouldn't be so easily killed by him. As expected, the countless fragments suddenly lit up. All of them blossomed with resplendent golden light, and a golden Buddhist aura spread out. The golden Buddha aura quickly gathered, and a figure appeared in the Buddha aura. Who else could it be but the sloppy monk? Humph! Gu Fei sneered and took a step forward. He instantly approached the sloppy monk and punched at him. Simple and direct, his killing intent soared into the sky. Swish! The sloppy monk's figure instantly dissipated under Gu Fei's fist. It seemed that this was just an illusion and not the sloppy monk's real body. Let's fight again next time! A voice suddenly came from afar. Gu Fei looked in the direction of the voice and saw a golden Buddha aura flashing a few times in the sky before disappearing. What a cunning fellow! Gu Fei knew that he had been tricked. That sloppy monk had actually left behind an afterimage, but his real body had already escaped. This kind of supernatural power could pass off as the real thing, and even he himself had not been able to see through it. The Buddhist sect is not simple. Gu Fei knew that his and He Tian's whereabouts had been discovered, and he was afraid that the experts from the heavenly Buddha sect would come looking for trouble. Boss! At this moment, He Tian rushed over from afar. The battle between Gu Fei and the sloppy monk had shaken the entire region. How could He Tian not sense Gu Fei's presence? Go! After meeting up with He Tian, Gu Fei also left the place and disappeared into the mountains. In the depths of the heavenly Buddha path, the place where all the Buddhist masters who entered the heavenly Buddha path cultivated, the greatest secret of the heavenly Buddha path lay. A huge mountain hovered there, towering into the clouds, not touching the earth, and exuding a vast and boundless auspicious aura. Surrounding the mountain were numerous floating mountains and islands shrouded in spiritual energy. There were even some mountain-sized Buddha statues floating in the air. Melodious bell tolls came from the top of the mountain, and the chanting of scriptures could be heard in the air. Buddhist energy was everywhere, and this was a true pure land of the Buddhist sect. At this time, a terrifying fluctuation came from the ground below the mountain, shattering the tranquility and auspiciousness of this place. On the ground below the mountain, there were countless pagodas and Buddha statues. The placement of these pagodas and Buddha statues was very particular, and the momentum of the entire region seemed to have been triggered. This was a Buddhist demon subduing grand array, and it was an ancient array. The Buddha statues and pagodas were antiques, and there were traces of time on them, giving off an incomparably ancient feeling. All the Buddha statues and pagodas were emitting strands of Buddhist radiance, and the entire array was enveloped in a layer of golden Buddhist radiance. At the center of the array, there was actually a thick mass of devil chi surging violently. 18 figures emitting boundless Buddhist radiance stood in the air above the Buddhist demon subduing grand array, chanting Buddhist scriptures and displaying supreme Buddhist dharma, wanting to refine the mass of devil chi in the array. Ancient Buddha turning into a devil. A ray of Buddhist radiance rushed over from the distant sky, and a monk dressed in ragged clothes appeared outside the array. This person was the sloppy monk who had been fighting endlessly with Gu Fei. "If I don't become a Buddha, I will become a devil." Within the mass of devil chi in the ancient Buddhist array, a devil figure was faintly discernible, and a faintly discernible spiritual will spread out from the devil chi, causing everyone's expression to change. Is the legendary Great Tribulation really going to come true? The sloppy monk's face revealed an incomparably shocked expression. He had sensed the abnormality in the primal Buddhist land, which was why he stopped tangling with Gu Fei. The heavenly Buddhist Tao was not like what people thought, a true paradise without disputes, life and death, and calamities. Legend had it that under the primal Buddhist land's Mount Meru, there was an ancient Buddha who wanted to cultivate into a supreme Buddha, comparable to the legendary eternal Buddha Lord. However, the ancient Buddha encountered a problem in his cultivation, and fell into a perilous situation. Thus, the ancient Buddha sealed himself under Mount Meru, and ordered his disciples to lay down a Buddhist array, and made an oath that he would not become a supreme Buddha, but instead become a supreme devil. After countless years, even the ancient Buddha's own disciple fell in the great tribulation of the late primordial era. Over time, the ancient Buddha's matter became a legend. The people of the heavenly Buddhist Tao thought that after so many years, the legendary ancient Buddha had already passed away. However, in the recent 1,000 years, the ancient Buddhist array under Mount Meru emitted a strange fluctuation. However, this was not a good thing, because the ancient Buddhist array emitted an evil aura, not the peaceful aura of the Buddhist Tao. As a result, people remembered this almost forgotten ancient legend. The ancient Buddha failed to break through to the supreme Buddha realm, and actually became a supreme devil. This was the great tribulation of the Buddhist Tao. The 18 strongest Buddhist sons of the heavenly Buddhist Tao had no choice but to take action. The 18 of them guarded 18 directions, and used the supreme Buddhist technique to activate the ancient Buddhist array, temporarily sealing the ancient Buddha devil inside. If he doesn't become a Buddha, he will become a devil. The divine will emitted from the devil aura gradually became stronger. The ancient Buddha was becoming a devil, and endless Buddhist power was gradually transforming into endless devil power. No one wanted to see the birth of a Buddha devil. If the Buddha devil was born, the entire heavenly Buddhist Tao would probably turn into a devil domain, and become the world of Buddha devils. All the Buddhist experts in the primal chaotic demonic land were watching nervously. Target =_. Chapter 1385. In the depths of the heavenly Buddha path was a chaotic Buddhist land. That was where the heaven and earth origin of the heavenly Buddha path was located, as well as the location of the legendary Mount Meru. The spiritual mountain in the outside world was merely the place where the ancient Buddhist Lord passed down the Buddhist teachings, while this Mount Meru was the location of the ancient Buddhist Lord's palace. At the peak of Mount Meru, there was a magnificent Buddhist temple, and the tallest one was the extreme Tao Buddha palace refined by the ancient Buddhist Lord. This was the supreme holy palace of Buddhism. Although the ancient Buddhist Lord had disappeared, he left behind a complete extreme Tao Buddha palace, which contained all the heritage of the Buddhist sect. Throughout the countless years, the Buddhist sect had been able to occupy the entire Western lands and flourish for a long time. The reason for this was because of the complete extreme Tao Buddhist palace and the complete legacy. In the long years, the Buddhist sect encountered many calamities, and some even attacked the heavenly Buddha path, but they couldn't break through the extreme Tao Buddha palace. Unless an extreme Tao great sage came personally, or a great sage-level character wielding an extreme Tao saint weapon, no one could break through the extreme Tao Buddha palace. The extreme Tao Buddha palace was branded with the ancient Buddhist lord's extreme Tao Buddha pattern, similar to the extreme Tao saint weapon, an immortal supreme divine artifact that was difficult to destroy. An ancient Buddha becoming a devil, this is no small matter. I'm afraid we have to use the power of the Buddhist sect to suppress it. If the Buddhist devil is allowed to come out, it will be a great calamity. Inside the chaotic Buddhist lands, on the mountain peaks floating in the void, many Buddhist experts appeared, and some were discussing in low voices. Throughout the years, the number of Buddhist disciples that could obtain the Buddha light's recognition and enter the heavenly Buddha path was actually not many. In the entire chaotic Buddhist lands, there were only slightly more than 100 disciples. In the human world, the Buddhist sect dominated the West lands, with hundreds of millions of believers and countless disciples. However, those who were truly fated with Buddhism and could be accepted by the Buddha light into the heavenly Buddha path were few and far between. However, those who were recognized by the Buddha light, after entering the heavenly Buddha path, would have an innate affinity with Buddhism, allowing them to achieve twice the results with half the effort. The Buddhist disciples of the heavenly Buddha path were all geniuses, and none of them were weak. Even the weakest among them was a Buddha emperor in the celestial being realm. At this time, the heavenly Buddha sect's strongest 18 Arhat princes acted together, suppressing the ancient Buddha that was turning into a devil. The chanting of sutras lingered between heaven and earth, as if there were thousands of Buddhas singing. This was a Buddhist voice that could cleanse one's soul and purify one's body and mind. In the end, all the disciples of the Buddhist sect chanted the Buddhist voice of salvation in an attempt to turn the ancient Buddha into a devil within the ancient expiation array. However, it wasn't easy for the ancient Buddha to turn into a devil. The ancient Buddha was originally an ancient sage of the Buddhist sect. Such an existence's understanding of Buddhism had already reached an unimaginable level. The universal Buddha voice no longer had any effect on the ancient Buddha. It couldn't stop the ancient Buddha from turning into a devil. The devilish nature in the ancient Buddha formation was getting stronger and stronger. The power of the ancient Buddhist formation seemed to be having a hard time suppressing the gradually growing devilish nature. This caused the expressions of all the Buddhist disciples to change. The ancient Buddhist turning into a devil seemed to be unstoppable. Demon! On a mountain peak a few thousand miles away, two silhouettes appeared. Gu Fei and He Tian were approaching the most important area of the heavenly Buddha sect, the Chaos Buddha lands. But at this time, Gu Fei sensed a devilish fluctuation coming from the front. Although this fluctuation was weak, it shocked Gu Fei to the core. This was the heavenly Buddha sect, one of the 6 reincarnations refined by the Buddhist Lord. How could there be a devil here? It was hard to imagine. It's really the aura of the devil path. No wonder we've been fighting outside for so long, yet we didn't see any other Buddhist experts. Something must have happened in the heavenly Buddha sect. He Tian also sensed the devilish fluctuation. This is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can fish in troubled waters. He Tian's eyes suddenly lit up, and he said excitedly. There was no day and night in the heavenly Buddha sect. This place was always brightly lit, and one could sense the auspicious fluctuation of Buddhism energy anywhere. Let's go take a look. Gu Fei nodded. He too wanted to know what happened in the heavenly Buddha sect. Why would there be devilish aura appearing in the depths of this world? They had entered the heavenly Buddha sect by chance, and it wouldn't be an easy task to leave this place. They didn't want to be trapped here forever. I can feel the aura of chaos. When Gu Fei and He Tian arrived outside the Chaos Buddha lands, both of them were shocked to the extreme. In front of them was a hazy void, and everything seemed to be shrouded in a thin layer of mist, giving off a surreal feeling. This is chaos chi that hasn't completely dissolved. He Tian's voice began to quiver. The area before them was actually a piece of chaos divine soil. This sort of chaos divine soil had been formed at the beginning of the world. This piece of chaos divine soil was definitely not refined by the Millennium Buddhist Lord. Even if it was the Buddhist Lord of the extreme Tao, with his supreme Buddhism techniques, he still couldn't refine something like this. Although the extreme Tao experts were the strongest existences in the world, sometimes, such existences weren't omnipotent. This is really a big move, Gu Fei couldn't help but sigh in admiration. The 1,000-year-old Buddhist sovereign actually found a primal chaos divine soil that was formed at the beginning of heaven and earth. Then, he refined the primal chaos divine soil into his heavenly Buddha Tao, turning it into a primal chaos Buddhist soil. The legendary Mount Meru was located in this piece of chaos Buddha lands. Chaos Chi was formed at the beginning of the world, and this kind of Chi could transform into all kinds of heaven and earth spiritual energy. Cultivating in such a place was many times better than those so-called heavenly paradises in the mortal world. This Millennium Buddhist Lord really put in a lot of effort for the sake of Buddhism's heritage. Gu Fei and He Tian didn't hesitate. They entered the hazy world in front of them. Chaos Chi lingered around their bodies, but they didn't absorb the surrounding Chaos Chi. They didn't want to alarm the people inside so quickly. It was hard to imagine how much a person's cultivation would reach after cultivating in such a piece of chaos Buddha lands for so many years. Gu Fei and the others couldn't help but be careful. Boom! At this time, an earth-shattering sound came from the depths of chaos Buddha lands. The entire piece of chaos Buddha lands shook violently. The demonic aura suddenly erupted, and a mass of demonic aura rushed out from the ground below Mount Meru. It then spread in all directions, quickly enveloping the entire world. A great devil was born? Gu Fei and He Tian were shocked. An extremely terrifying devil Chi spread across the world, causing one's heart to palpitate. This was definitely the power of a saint. Could it be that a great devil saint was born? To see the first advertisement, please go to. Please share. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1386. A devil appeared in the Buddha land. A huge change happened in the heavenly Buddha Tao. Below Mount Meru, there was actually an ancient Buddha turning into a devil. This was a threat to everyone in the heavenly Buddha Tao. In the hazy primal chaos Buddha land, spiritual energy was abundant. Spiritual herbs over 1,000 years of age could be seen everywhere. On the cliffs, there were even 10,000-year-old king herbs growing. This place was huge, but the population was sparse. Many spiritual herbs were left unharvested, allowing them to grow naturally. This benefited He Tian. This fella, even when wild geese flew over his head, he would grab a handful of its feathers. How could he not be tempted when he saw a spiritual herb? According to his words, rather than letting this baldy benefit, he might as well enjoy it himself. As long as it was a 10,000-year-old king herb, it would be taken away by He Tian. As for 1,000-year-old spiritual herbs, they were truly nothing in his eyes. Rumble! Just as Gu Fei and the rest were nearing Mount Meru, the heaven and earth suddenly trembled. A terrifying devil aura surged over from the front. A great devil is born. This is the energy of a saint. Gu Fei and He Tian were incomparably shocked. Was there really a great devil suppressed in the depths of the heavenly Buddha Tao? In the chaotic Buddha land, no one could remain unscathed. Boss, this. He Tian's expression changed when he sensed that devil aura. This kind of energy had already exceeded their endurance. This was a true saint-level energy. What are you afraid of? If we really can't win, we still have a way out. Gu Fei was also alarmed. But at this time, it shouldn't be them running, but the arhats in the heavenly Buddha Tao were in big trouble. If there was really a great devil suppressed in the heavenly Buddha Tao, the first thing this great devil would do would be to kill all the arhats in the heavenly Buddha Tao. When He Tian heard Gu Fei's words, he gradually calmed down. The devilish energy had almost shaken his will, forcing him to be more cautious. At this moment, on Mount Meru, all the sons of Buddha were incomparably nervous. Below Mount Meru, a torrential demonic aura surged out. The power of the ancient Buddha array could no longer suppress the demonic power within the array. The 18 strongest sons of Buddha radiated with boundless Buddha light as they stood in 18 different positions, displaying supreme Dharma and activating the Tao power of Buddhism. The runes of the entire ancient Buddha formation emitted a dazzling Buddha light, intertwining with the power of the great Tao of Buddhism. All the Buddha power went towards a devil fetus in the middle of the formation. The ancient Buddha transformed into a devil. Endless Buddha energy was converted into devil energy, forming a devil embryo. Within the devil embryo was the great devil that the ancient Buddha transformed into. At this moment, the great devil was about to be born. Bam! 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 The demon fetus was vibrating like a heart. The dull sound caused the entire ancient Buddhist formation to shake. The pagodas that shone with Buddhist light and the Buddha statues that were covered in Buddhist runes were all trembling. The demonic power was boundless, and within the tumbling demonic aura, there seemed to be many scary demonic shadows appearing. The Buddha nature of the ancient Buddha was being destroyed, and the demonic nature was expanding. "It's time to use the Buddha weapon," one of the 18 sons of Buddha said. Then, he waved towards Mount Meru in the sky, and a golden light rushed out from Mount Meru. Boom! Endless Buddha power descended from the sky. Within the blinding Buddha light, it was as if 9 golden dragons were rushing down from the sky and landing in the hands of the middle-aged son of Buddha. The golden light dissipated, and it was a Buddhist staff. This was a holy weapon. On the body of the staff, there were 9 golden dragons circling. The 9 dragon heads gathered at the head of the staff. The dragon heads were facing inward, and in the middle, there was a pearl that looked like a red sun. "This is the legendary 9-dragon staff? Elder Heavenly Dharma is getting serious." When the sons of Buddha saw this, they were all shocked. The 9-dragon staff in Heavenly Dharma's hand was releasing a vast holy energy. This was the energy of a Buddha saint. "Go!" Buddha Heavenly Dharma threw the 9-dragon staff. The 9-dragon staff became a Buddha light, and it stabbed into the ancient Buddha array's eye. Boom! Boom! Saint-ranked Buddhism energy surged out from the 9-dragon scepter, bringing boundless energy to the ancient Buddha array. The devil chi that was spreading in all directions was immediately suppressed back to where it came from. The other sons of Bodhisattvas also summoned their ancient Buddha weapons to suppress the formation core. Rays of Buddha light that exuded a saint-class ripple rushed out from Mount Meru and entered the ancient Buddha formation below. The legends say that Mount Meru has 18 ancient Buddha weapons left behind by ancient Buddha saints. I can't believe this legend is true. 18 ancient Buddha weapons! Those are 18 ancient Buddha holy weapons! Many arhats who saw this scene were astonished. There were actually 18 ancient sacred weapons hidden in the sacred palace on Mount Meru. Even the arhats of the heavenly Buddha sect didn't know about this. Even the most powerful 18 arhats didn't know what was inside the palace of the ancient Buddhist lord on Mount Meru. However, these 18 Buddhist ancient sacred weapons belonged to the sacred temple. With the help of the 18 Buddha weapons, the ancient Buddha array's power suppressed the ancient Buddha's demonic power. The demon fetus, which was about to break out of the array, was once again sealed inside. This was an ancient sacred weapon refined by 18 ancient Buddhist sages, and it contained sacred Buddhist energy. It was as if 18 ancient Buddhist sages were attacking at the same time. No matter how strong the ancient Buddha's demonic power was, it couldn't fight it. The peaceful Buddha power filled the sky, and the Buddha light shone. There were countless Buddhas chanting in the sky, and many Buddha symbols appeared. The ancient Buddha formation displayed a great power, refining demonic energy and sealing the surroundings. However, what the ancient Buddha formation wanted to transform into was a supreme devil, an existence comparable to the extreme Tao Devil Lord. The power of the demon fetus was still increasing. Many symbols appeared on the demon fetus. The demon flags around the demon fetus were waving, and a power that surpassed holy class was gathering. Is it really going to turn into that supreme demon? Someone was completely stunned by the scene in front of them. The ancient Buddha becoming a demon was definitely not simple. If it really gave birth to a supreme demon, it would be a disaster for the entire heavenly Buddha Tao. Seeing that the power of the ancient Buddha array had sealed that terrifying demon fetus, the sons of Buddha heaved a sigh of relief. But they knew that such power wasn't enough to destroy the demon fetus. People kept falling from the sky and into the Buddha array. They used their own Buddha power to increase the power of the Buddha array. Even the sloppy monk, who was at the pinnacle of Almighty Realm, occupied a spot in the Buddha array. He circulated the Buddha sect's mystic arts to stimulate the power of the Buddha array. Many people chanted the Buddha mantra and let out exorcism Buddhist chants. They wanted to dispel the demonic nature of the demon fetus and enlighten it. But how could the ancient Buddha become a demon be dispelled by Buddhist chants? All the sons of Buddha started moving. The vast Buddha energy gathered into a terrifying current and surged towards the center of the ancient Buddha array. The layers of demonic light were continuously destroyed. Over 100 sons of Buddha working together, even a true saint would be fearful. The power condensed from the power of the Buddha array was too strong. The demon fetus felt the threat. Under the impact of the Buddha power, the demonic runes on the demon fetus all lit up. Rays of demonic light intertwined to form a light barrier that enveloped the demon fetus. The Buddha power that came from all directions was blocked by the layer of demonic light on the demon fetus. It couldn't truly threaten the demon fetus. The demon fetus continued to beat like an incomparably huge heart. Each time it beat, the entire heaven and earth would tremble. This was a type of Tao sound. How is this possible, supreme demon fetus? The sons of Buddha couldn't help but feel shaken by this scene. No one knew how powerful the combined power of over 100 sons of Buddha was. However, this power was enough to kill an ancient saint. Moreover, there were 18 ancient Buddhist weapons in the ancient Buddha array. One had to know that these were ancient Buddhist sacred weapons refined by the ancient virtuous paragons. With so much power gathered together, it still couldn't destroy the demon fetus in the ancient Buddha array. All the sons of Buddha couldn't believe what they were seeing. Even the strongest 18 sons of Buddha found it hard to maintain their composure. How can this be? Is there really no way to stop the ancient Buddha turning into a demon? Is the ancient legend going to come true? The 18 strongest sons of Buddha muttered. The strength of the demon fetus had exceeded their expectations. They used all their methods but still couldn't destroy it. What should we do? The heavenly Buddha path had used almost everything that could be used. As for those that couldn't be used, there was no need to think about it. The danger in front of them could only be resolved by using the supreme Buddhist weapon. Use the supreme Buddhist weapon? The 18 sons of Buddha were extremely powerful. They were the strongest existences in the heavenly Buddha path. Each of them had a cultivation realm and power that surpassed supreme existences. Among the 18 sons of Buddha, the weakest was a half-sage. The 3 in the lead were only one step away from becoming a sage. They were the strongest in this world and were quasi-sages. These 18 sons of Buddha had been cultivating in the sacred palace at the peak of Mount Meru for many years. Their minds were connected and they all knew that this was the only way to resolve this great calamity. The 18 sons of Buddha didn't hesitate. They rushed into the sky and flew towards the mountain floating in the sky. The 18 rays of Buddhist light quickly reached the peak of Mount Meru and rushed into the sacred palace. At this time, Gu Fei and He Tian also arrived near Mount Meru. What a spiritual mountain! In the hazy chaotic energy, a huge mountain floated high in the sky. The entire mountain emitted a vast and boundless auspicious aura as if there was a supreme Buddha hiding on the mountain. The aura of the extreme Tao. Gu Fei was also shocked. Compared to this spiritual mountain, the Buddhist sacred ground in the outside world and West Earth's spiritual mountain were far inferior. This kind of aura of the extreme Tao was something that the spiritual mountains in the outside world didn't have. Could it be that this mountain is the legendary Mount Meru? He Tian was proficient in formations. He could tell that this mountain wasn't ordinary at a glance. To have such an aura, only the legendary Mount Meru would have it. Mount Meru? When Gu Fei heard this, he couldn't help but be shocked. This mountain was the Mount Meru where the ancient Buddha attained Tao. To see the first advertisement, please go to, please share, target equals, _blank. Chapter 1387. An ancient divine mountain hovered high up in the sky, shrouding an entire area, exuding a boundless auspicious aura. Mount Meru, a divine mountain that had existed since ancient times. Because of the Millennium Buddha Lord, its name spread throughout the ancient era, becoming the supreme holy land of Buddhism. According to legend, before the Millennium Buddha Lord achieved his Tao, he came to Mount Meru and sat on the peak for 1,000 years, comprehending the flawless Great Tao. On the day that the Millennium Buddha Lord achieved his Tao enlightenment, golden lotuses bloomed on the surface of Mount Meru, auspicious clouds descended from the sky, and Buddhist luminance illuminated the 9 heavens and 10 earths. A golden figure appeared between heaven and earth, chanting Buddhist scriptures, bathing in the Buddhist luminance, and converting all living beings in the vicinity. Even some of the peerless experts near Mount Meru were enlightened by the eternal Buddha Lord and became his disciples, becoming his son of Buddha. According to the ancient Buddhist scriptures, the ancient Buddha at the foot of Mount Meru was a son of Buddha under the 1,000-year-old Buddhist Lord. He cultivated to become a Buddhist sage, but in the end, he encountered a problem in his cultivation and had no choice but to seal himself under Mount Meru. This was an ancient antique, characters from the same era as him were long gone, even the Millennium Buddha Lord had disappeared. This kind of character turning into a devil was bound to shake heaven and earth. In fact, the ancient Buddha turning into a devil really brought an unprecedented crisis to the heavenly Buddha sect. Once a devil appeared, the entire heavenly Buddha sect would be plunged into an abyss of misery. Such an atmosphere, this should be the legendary Mount Meru. Auspicious chi covered the divine mountain, Buddhist luminance swirled in 6 circles, and one could feel a boundless Buddhism energy fluctuation, especially at the peak, where there seemed to be a supreme ancient Buddha hiding. Boss, is there really a Buddhist saint guarding this place? Haitian's face paled when he sensed the irresistible Buddhism energy fluctuation. If there were 1 or 2 Buddhist princes under the Millennium Buddha Lord that did not leave, it would be a disaster. The ancient Buddhist Lord was an extreme Buddhist saint, so how could his disciples be weak? Most likely, they had long cultivated to the Buddhist saint Tao fruit. Although they were not extreme Buddhist saints, they could be called ancient Buddhas. Humph! After the Great Desolation, heaven and earth changed greatly. There are no saints in this world. What are you afraid of? Gu Fei said. At his cultivation level, he could already pry into the mysteries of heaven. He could vaguely sense that the current world no longer recognized saints. Unless the laws of the world changed again, the world would not allow anyone to become a saint. But this place is different. Haitian still felt a little uneasy. This was a primal chaos Buddhist land, filled with primal chaos energy. The laws of heaven and earth in this place could be said to be weaker than any other place. It wasn't impossible for a Buddha sage to make use of the characteristics of this place to hide. At the very least, we can retreat, Gu Fei said. He could draw upon the power of the Hell Path's realm pearl to connect with the Hell Path and open up a passageway to the Hell Path. In front of a sage, the inner world no longer had any advantage. A sage could shatter the void and forcibly enter the inner world. But entering the Hell Path was different. That was a world that was comparable to a complete world. No one was willing to enter such a near-perfect world. Such a world could suppress an ancient sage. If Gu Fei was in the Hell Path, he could really use the Realm Pearl to draw upon the power of heaven and earth to kill an ancient sage. Rumble! Just as Gu Fei and Haitian were conversing, a thunderous sound came from the front. They felt the ground beneath their feet shaking. There were transparent ripples that could be seen with the naked eye in the void. An unimaginably powerful force erupted, and the terrifying aura caused the world to change color. This is the great demon born? Gu Fei and Haitian were incomparably shocked. They hurriedly looked in the direction of the sound and saw a black demonic aura rushing out from the bottom of the primordial god mountain. The power of the demonic path burst forth like never before, and there were quite a number of sons of Buddha who were sent flying. Buddha blood sprayed across the sky, and the entire ancient Buddha array was shaking. The 18 Buddha figures stood tall in the array and fought against the demonic path power that burst forth from the array. Heaven and Earth Avatar 18 Supreme Beings? Sensing the powerful aura from the 18 Buddha figures, Even Gu Fei's expression changed. The Buddhist sect was truly too powerful. There were actually 18 supreme beings in the heavenly Buddha path. What kind of power was this? It was truly hard to imagine. Such power was enough to sweep through the entire mortal world. Moreover, among these 18 supreme beings, there were 3 whose Buddha energy fluctuations were extremely powerful. There was even a strand of saintly might lingering around them. Half-sage? Tian was truly stunned. The waters of the mortal world were truly extraordinarily deep. With his current cultivation, he probably wouldn't even be able to cause a splash. Among these 3, the leader is most likely a half-sage. Gu Fei observed for a moment before saying such words. He used the power of heaven and earth to seal his body, not leaking a trace of his aura. No one knew that they had already arrived in the vicinity of Mount Meru. Half-sage? Tian was shocked. If such a character were to act against him, a single finger of his would be enough to kill him countless times over. He felt very uneasy. They can't even take care of themselves. This is an opportunity. Gu Fei knew that within the grand array beneath Mount Meru, there was a terrifying devil being suppressed. Now that all the sons of Buddha were gathered within the Buddha array, working together to suppress the devil, the defense of Mount Meru would definitely be useless. I can sense the aura of a saint weapon. 18 saint-grade auras rushed out from the Buddha array. Tian was shocked to the extreme. Could it be that the entire saint weapon of the Buddhist sect was hidden within the heavenly Buddha path? Although Tian was very far away, he still felt as though there was an ancient divine mountain pressing down on his body. He couldn't even straighten his back. And Gu Fei had the protection of a saint weapon. In addition to the fact that his cultivation and strength had already advanced to the almighty realm, he didn't feel too uncomfortable when facing the eruption of saint might. Swish! Gu Fei extended his hand and an almost transparent divine sword appeared in his hand. He then handed it over to Tian. This was his spoil of war from the land of Saint Burial, shadowless divine sword. Boss, this is for me? When Tian saw the divine sword in Gu Fei's hand, his voice was trembling. He was extremely excited and wanted to snatch the divine sword from Gu Fei's hand. However, he didn't dare and was hesitating. I'll lend it to you first, Gu Fei said. Thank you, boss. When Tian heard this, he hurriedly snatched the shadowless divine sword into his hand. A sharp and obscure sword aura spread from the divine sword, almost cutting off his hand. What a domineering sword aura! It's domineering yet not obvious. This is definitely an unparalleled weapon suitable for sneak attacks. Tian couldn't bear to let go of it. He then inhaled and exhaled the yin and yang essence qi and wrapped the shadowless divine sword with his own life essence qi before carefully storing it into his body. Boss, what are we waiting for? Let's loot Mount Meru. After obtaining such a saint weapon, Tian's courage was boosted. He was extremely excited and his eyes lit up. To see the first episode without advertisements, please go to please share. Target =_blank. Chapter 1388. Ransack Mount Meru? If such words were spoken in the primordial era, people would definitely think that it came from a lunatic. One had to know that Mount Meru was where the Buddhist Lord's Buddhist palace was located. It was where the Buddhist Lord resided. No one dared to provoke the extreme Tao Buddhist Lord. This was equivalent to suicide. The extreme Tao Buddhist Lord was invincible in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Only the legendary existences of the extreme Tao were qualified to be his opponent. But now, Gu Fei and Tian had sneaked up this primordial sacred mountain and headed towards the holy palace at the peak. At this moment, not a single arhat could be seen on Mount Meru. Rumble! The earth trembled. 18 Buddhist shadows stood on the ground and displayed supreme Buddhist Dharma. They activated the power of the ancient Buddha array to suppress the terrifying devil fetus. 1. The 18 ancient Buddha weapons were also displaying their prowess. The great Tao markings in the ancient Buddha weapons were activated. They automatically emitted a supreme sage level wave. It was as if 18 Buddha saints appeared in the Buddha array. The power of the 18 Arhats and the 18 ancient Buddha weapons temporarily sealed the devil fetus in the ancient Buddha array. This made it difficult for the devil Tao's power to leak out. The ancient Buddha turned into a devil. A strand of devil chi was enough to turn the entire region into a land of death. If the devil chi in the Buddha array leaked out, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, all the Arhats attacked. No one was willing to see the Supreme Devil appear. Some were even planning to use the extreme Tao Buddhist weapon. The heavenly Buddha path was a supreme Buddhist land refined by the Buddhist Lord. Legend had it that the extreme Tao Buddhist weapon was left behind by the Buddhist Lord. However, no one had seen it before. But all the Arhats who entered the heavenly Buddha path knew that the extreme Tao Buddhist weapon was on Mount Meru. Perhaps it was hidden in the holy palace at the peak of Mount Meru. However, the holy palace at the peak of Mount Meru wasn't a place anyone could enter. That was the residence of the Buddhist Lord. Only the strongest 18 Arhats of the heavenly Buddha path had the right to enter the holy palace to comprehend the supreme Buddhist Dharma. The chanting of the Buddhist sect circled around the heaven and earth. All the sons of Buddha were displaying this kind of evil subduing Buddhist voice, wanting to use the supreme Dharma to purify the great devil in the Buddhist formation. Within the Buddhist matrix, countless Buddhist runes appeared, interweaving with the power of the great path of Buddhism. They rushed towards the demonic fetus. The demonic runes on the demonic fetus also emitted surging waves of demonic power, blocking the supreme Buddhist power. Boom! Elder Fa Tian controlled the 9 Dragons' scepter and unleashed a terrifying attack, wanting to pierce through the devil fetus. This was the power of a saint. 9 golden dragons shot out from the 9 Dragons' scepter towards the devil fetus. Bam! The 9 golden dragons crashed into the layer of demonic light around the devil fetus almost at the same time. The entire devil fetus shook violently, and the demonic light around the devil fetus was almost penetrated. However, demonic patterns could be vaguely seen on the demonic light, drawing upon the power of the demonic path and actually blocking the 9 golden dragons, blocking this saint-level power. What? Grand Elder Fa Tian was shocked. He knew very well how powerful his attack was after using the Buddhist saint weapon. It could even shatter an ancient divine mountain, but it couldn't penetrate the demonic light around the devil fetus. Let's attack together! The other sons of Buddha also activated their respective ancient Buddhist weapons. Saint-level power exploded within the ancient Buddhist matrix, and the aura of the 18 ancient Buddhist weapons almost caused the entire heaven and earth to collapse. 1. The 18 ancient Buddhist weapons trembled at the same time, emitting a monstrous saint-level aura. It was as though 18 ancient Buddhas had awakened, and their divine might was unparalleled. Even Mount Meru above the ancient Buddhist matrix was affected, and it started to tremble. The power of the 18 ancient Buddhist weapons gathered together, and even the sovereigns among the saints would have a change of expression. Are those monks going to go all out? At the waist of Mount Meru, Gu Fei and He Tian were incomparably shocked. The saint-level aura caused their hearts to palpitate, and such power was enough to kill a true saint. Boss, let's hurry up. Otherwise, after those baldies finish dealing with the devil fetus, we will be in trouble, He Tian said. He couldn't wait to rush up to the peak of Mount Meru and ransack the holy palace. However, although there wasn't a single son of Buddha at the peak of Mount Meru, the defensive matrix on top of Mount Meru was extraordinary. Generations of Buddhist sages had constantly perfected the defensive system of Mount Meru, and the entire Mount Meru had been branded with indelible Tao marks by the Buddhist sages. This caused quite a bit of trouble for He Tian, but who was He Tian? He was a master of formations, and he constantly deduced the forces of heaven and earth around him as he slowly advanced towards the peak of the mountain. If I don't become a supreme Buddha, then I will become a supreme devil. A strand of divine sense circled between heaven and earth. All the sons of Buddha couldn't help but change their expressions. The devil in the middle of the matrix was incomparably powerful. Could it really be a supreme great devil? Killing demons is the duty of our generation. Kill! Monk Fatian was incomparably domineering. He took the 9 Dragons' scepter into his hand and smashed it towards the devil fetus. 9 dragon shadows flickered on the 9 dragon scepter. Monstrous demonic energy exploded from the devil fetus, and within the billowing demonic energy, a terrifying silhouette directly appeared from the void. It was a faint and illusory demonic shadow that stood in the center of the matrix. The demonic shadow exuded a terrifying aura that could shake the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Bang! The demonic shadow's giant hand slammed towards the 9 golden dragons. Demonic energy erupted, and the entire heaven and earth darkened. 2 extremely powerful forces clashed together. Boom! An earth-shattering boom rang out. The giant hand condensed by the demonic shadow actually smashed apart the 9 golden dragons, and even sent the 9 dragon scepter flying away. What? All the sons of Buddha were shocked. One must know that Grand Elder Fatian was the #1 expert in the heavenly Buddha Tao, a step away from becoming a quasi-saint. If even he couldn't break through the power of the devil fetus, then it would be even more difficult for others to do anything to it. At this time, no one knew that Gu Fei and He Tian were heading towards the peak of Mount Meru. He Tian was indeed worthy of being an array grandmaster. He actually found a safe path that led straight to the peak. Haha! Supreme Buddhist treasure, here I come. He Tian was incomparably excited. The peak of Mount Meru was the residence of the ancient Buddhist Lord. How could there be no Buddhist treasures in the saint palace of the ancient Buddhist Lord? Abandon Buddha and become a devil. A powerful wave of will rippled out from the devil fetus. Then, an unimaginably terrifying demonic power burst forth. A circle of demonic energy spread out from the center of the ancient Buddha matrix. The demonic energy finally broke through the seal of the ancient Buddha matrix. The ancient Buddha seemed to have succeeded in becoming a demon. The terrifying demonic energy was like a broken dam, gushing out in all directions. Everywhere it passed, everything was destroyed, leaving nothing behind. Roar! The 18 sons of Buddha suffered a huge impact. They roared angrily as they were sent flying. The other sons of Buddha directly coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. They were sent flying thousands of feet away. Some of the sons of Buddha had their bodies shattered and their souls destroyed. They were completely destroyed. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1389. Roar! A terrifying demonic howl came from the ancient Buddha formation as boundless demonic chi erupted. The demonic energy nearly overturned the entire heaven and earth. Countless Buddha statues and pagodas crumbled into dust. Rumble! The entire ancient Buddha formation trembled as the Buddha runes dimmed. This ancient formation that had existed for countless years was on the verge of collapsing. Buzz! At this time, the 18 ancient Buddha weapons suppressing the 18 formation eyes of the ancient Buddha formation vibrated at the same time, emitting 18 powerful waves of saintly aura. The 9 dragon scepter, the glazed ring blade, the blessed Buddha lamp, each supreme Buddha weapon was awakened one by one. On top of each weapon, a Buddha's shadow walked out. This was the remnant divine sense of the 18 ancient Buddhas on the 18 ancient Buddha weapons. It was as if the 18 ancient Buddhas had personally descended, sending out an auspicious Buddhist energy that filled the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Even if the Lord Buddha himself comes, he won't be able to stop me from becoming a devil. A devilish shadow stood up from the boundless demonic chi. A pair of blood-red eyes shot out 2 blood-red rays, scanning the surroundings. Amitabha! The 18 ancient Buddhas' divine sense within the 18 ancient Buddha weapons took the form of ancient Buddhas, sitting cross-legged in the void, chanting Buddhist chants, displaying the chant of Devanaga, wanting to enlighten the ancient devil with the supreme Buddhist voice. The wondrous Buddhist voice was the nemesis of all devils. Boundless demonic chi was dispersed by the sound waves as Buddha runes emerged in the void. Golden lotuses sprouted from the ground as auspicious clouds descended from the sky. The world was filled with peace as the murderous chi transformed into auspicious chi. The power of the 18 ancient Buddha weapons was too overwhelming. Even the supreme devil felt threatened, roaring ceaselessly within the demonic chi, shaking the heavens. One! A deafening sound came from within the demonic chi as a devil weapon appeared in the hand of the devilish shadow. It was a devil spear, entirely black in color, exuding a monstrous demonic energy. Swish! The devilish shadow directly stabbed out with the spear. Terrifying demonic energy pierced through the void as a black demonic light shot out from the spear. Like a black river, it rushed towards the 9 dragons' scepter. Bang! The 9 golden dragons were shattered, and the Buddha's shadow that emerged from the 9 dragons' scepter was pierced through by the devilish light, sending the 9 dragons' scepter flying away. The battle prowess displayed by the demonic shadow caused all the sons of Buddha who witnessed this scene to be indescribably shocked. The ancient Buddha turning into a demon was a terrifying calamity. Then, the sound of something cracking could be heard from within the demonic aura. Oh no, that devil is about to come into being! Great Elder Fa Tian's expression changed. The other 17 sons of Buddha were also moved. The ancient Buddha was about to break out of its cocoon, and this wasn't a good thing. The Supreme Buddha was about to be born. If I don't become the Supreme Buddha, I'll become the Supreme Devil. These words resounded in the world. This was a peerless demonic voice, and it actually suppressed the heavenly dragon Buddhist voice that was chanted by the ancient Buddha in the 18 ancient Buddha weapons. Looks like I'll have to use the resources of the sacred palace. A middle-aged Buddhist son beside Fantian said. This Buddhist son's cultivation was extremely strong, and he was half a Buddhist saint. There was a golden halo behind his head and his body was filled with Buddhist power. Then let's bring out that Buddhist treasure! An old monk with a ruddy face and 2 snow-white long eyebrows said. This person was also a half-Buddhist saint. The 18 sons of Buddha with the strongest cultivation in the heavenly Buddha path gathered together. The other sons of Buddha's cultivation weren't strong enough, so they all fled in all directions. Other than the supreme existences of the Tao's severing realm, no one could interfere. At this moment, the 9 dragons' scepter that was sent flying flew back. The 9 dragon shadows were like real dragons, dancing around the 9 dragons' scepter and emitting terrifying saint-grade energy waves that shook the heavens. The demonic shadow was still attacking. He held the peerless demonic spear in his hand and pierced out again and again. The unstoppable demonic energy pierced through the heaven and earth, destroying everything in its path. The 18 ancient Buddha weapons were trembling and they were constantly sent flying by the power of the peerless demonic spear. The power of the 18 ancient Buddha weapons could no longer suppress this devil. Cracks appeared on the devil fetus and strands of extremely pure demonic chi seeped out from the cracks. The terrifying demonic nature spread between heaven and earth as though it wanted to demonize everything. The ancient Buddha turned into a devil. This was a supreme devil fetus that gave birth to a great devil. The ancient Buddha that abandoned Buddha and turned into a devil no longer existed. The Buddha nature was completely extinguished, and was replaced by the demonic nature. The 18 ancient Buddha weapons were all spiritual objects. At this moment, all 18 ancient Buddha weapons had awakened. The majestic saint-grade energy waves were enough to shatter everything. However, the demonic shadow that manifested from the devil fetus displayed supreme demonic might. With the peerless demonic spear in his hand, he actually fought against the 18 ancient Buddha weapons. On each of the 18 ancient Buddha weapons, faint and illusory Buddha shadows appeared. These were the ancient Buddhas that appeared in different eras of the Buddhist sect. Each ancient Buddha was once a supreme existence in the Buddhist sect. At this moment, these 18 ancient Buddhas from different eras were releasing their last bit of power. The 18 ancient Buddha weapons emitted unprecedented powerful Buddha energy and trapped the demonic shadow. Swoosh! The glazed ring blade slashed across the sky. The resplendent blade light tore through the layers of demonic chi and collided with the peerless demonic spear in the demonic shadow's hand, producing a deafening boom. Boom! The blessed Buddha lamp hovered high in the sky. A soybean-sized golden wick emitted a monstrous golden Buddha fire that swept down from the sky. The golden Buddha fire came into contact with the towering demonic chi. The layers of demonic chi dissipated under the Buddha fire. The Buddha fire burned towards the devil fetus, enveloping the devil fetus and the demonic shadow. Swoosh! The demonic shadow displayed an indomitable fighting strength. He directly stabbed the peerless demonic spear upwards. Terrifying demonic energy frantically gathered towards the spear. A pitch-black demonic light shot out from the peerless demonic spear, breaking through the layers of demonic fire and colliding with the blessed Buddha lamp, knocking it away. The Buddha fire in the sky dissipated instantly. The devil fetus was too powerful. The 18 ancient Buddha weapons could barely suppress it. But now, it was just the beginning. Crack! 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 More and more cracks appeared on the devil fetus. The 18 strongest arhats knew that if they hesitated any longer, the devil inside the devil fetus would be born. Go get the Supreme Buddha treasure! Grand Elder Heavenly Dharma soared into the sky, rushing towards the sacred palace at the peak of Mount Meru. The other arhats followed closely behind. One had to know that Grand Elder Heavenly Dharma was the only quasi-sage in the Blessed Buddha path. In the Blessed Buddha path, all arhats had to listen to Grand Elder Heavenly Dharma. Even the current Buddhist Lord had to be respectful when he saw Grand Elder Heavenly Dharma. The Supreme Buddha treasure was hidden in the sacred palace at the peak of Mount Meru. Only Grand Elder Heavenly Dharma could retrieve it. Because not everyone could enter the sacred palace. The sacred palace contained the inheritance of the ancient Buddhist lords. Only those with stronger cultivation could enter the sacred palace. Those with weaker cultivation might not even be able to enter the sacred palace. Rays of Buddhist light shot up from the foot of the mountain. Golden rays fell to the ground. Dharma was the first person to arrive in front of the sacred palace. But when he arrived at the entrance, he was stunned. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1390. The holy palace at the peak of Mount Shumi was the dwelling place of the Buddhist lords throughout the ages. This was the supreme holy land that billions of Buddhists yearned for. Only those who were recognized by the Buddha light of salvation had the chance to enter the heavenly Buddha path and see the legendary holy palace. Usually, only the 18 sons of Buddha with the highest cultivation in the heavenly Buddha sect had the right to enter the sacred palace to cultivate. The other sons of Buddha didn't even have the right to walk up to the peak of Mount Meru. In particular, the heavenly Dharma quasi-Buddha saint and the 2 half-Buddha saints. These 3 great existences had been comprehending the Buddhist Dharma in the sacred palace all year round, wanting to take a step further and become a sage. However, the current laws of the world no longer recognize the existence of saints. The great path of the world could not be touched. Even if people had heaven-defying cultivation talents, it would still be difficult for them to become saints. Now that the Buddha demon has appeared, the entire Xianghe Buddha land was going to be in chaos. The 18 Buddha soldiers seemed to be unable to suppress the supreme demon, forcing heavenly Dharma to go to Mount Meru and ask for the supreme Buddha treasure. When Fa Tian arrived at the entrance of the Saint Palace, he was dumbfounded. The palace doors were originally closed, but now they were wide open. How could this be? When the sons of Buddha caught sight of this, they were stunned as well. This wasn't any ordinary Buddha palace. This was the place where the ancient Buddha Lord resided. It was the Extreme Tao Buddha Palace. Someone actually barged into the Extreme Tao Buddha Palace? Was this even possible? However, the scene in front of him was really happening. The door of the Buddha Palace was wide open, and he could see some of the scenery inside. Inside, there was Buddha light lingering around. It seemed to be a golden Buddha realm. Sumeru storage ring, Buddhist kingdom in the palm. This Buddhist palace wasn't what it looked like on the surface. There was another universe inside. But other than heavenly Dharma and the other 18 sons of Buddha, no one knew what was inside. What's going on? Even the quasi-Buddhist heavenly Dharma couldn't help but change his expression at this moment. Could it be that other sons of Buddha had entered the sacred palace? Impossible. In the heavenly Buddha sect, other than himself and the other 17 sons of Buddha, how could there be another son of Buddha who had the ability to enter the Saint Palace? Grand Elder, the long-browed old monk walked over. His expression wasn't too good either. The 18 sons of Buddha were all here and none of them had left. Fellow Buddhists, who are you? Please come out and meet me! Heavenly Dharma was shocked and enraged. He knew that over the countless years, the number of sons of Buddha who were recognized by Kittagarbha and entered the heavenly Buddha path was definitely not limited to these 100 people. Entering the heavenly Buddha path was difficult, but exiting the heavenly Buddha path wasn't difficult at all. Inside the heavenly Buddha path, there was an array formation that could transport people to the outside world. There were many arhats who had entered the heavenly Buddha path earlier than him. Not to mention, the heavenly Buddha path was so big, like a small world, it was impossible for him to search every corner of the heavenly Buddha path. Even if there were senior monks cultivating in seclusion somewhere in the heavenly Buddha path, this was still a possibility. No one thought that it was an outsider who barged into the holy palace. One had to know, the heavenly Buddha path was a heaven and earth refined by the ancient Buddhist lords. Without the recognition of the Buddha light of salvation, outsiders would never be able to enter. Therefore, in the heavenly Buddha Tao, there were only arhats who were recognized by the universal Buddha light, and there were absolutely no outsiders. No one in the sacred palace responded. At the peak of Mount Meru, only the voice of quasi-Buddha sage Heavenly Dharma reverberated. The group of sons of Buddha behind Heavenly Dharma were extremely shocked. In this heavenly Buddha Tao, there was actually someone who didn't follow the heavenly laws. This was something that hadn't happened in 1,000 years. One had to know that in the heavenly Buddha path, there were only about 100 arhats recognized by the universal Buddha light. Among these 100 people, only Heavenly Dharma was a quasi-Buddha sage. A quasi-Buddha sage was the strongest person recognized by the great Tao of heaven and earth. In a world without saints, a quasi-sage was already the strongest existence. Which Buddhist friend is it? Since you are already here, why not come out and meet me? Heavenly Dharma didn't dare to be slow. One had to know that it wasn't an easy task to open the gates of the sacred palace. However, the sacred palace was still silent. No one came out to respond to the number one expert of the heavenly Buddha path. This way, everyone felt uneasy. Could it be that in the heavenly Buddha path, there was really an existence that could ignore heavenly Dharma? Rumble! Suddenly, the entire Mount Meru shook. The energy waves coming from the bottom of Mount Meru shook this legendary supreme sacred mountain of the Buddhist sects. Everyone's expression changed. This was the power of the 18 ancient Buddhist weapons clashing with the devil fetus. The vast destructive power shook the entire Mount Meru. This was the power of a saint. The power of the 18 ancient Buddhist weapons was enough to shake the world. However, the devil fetus seemed to be even more powerful and terrifying. It didn't seem to be at a disadvantage against the 18 ancient Buddhist weapons. Great Elder, we are running out of time. Another Buddhist half-sage behind Heavenly Dharma couldn't help but speak. If they hesitated, the great devil born from the devil fetus would break through the seal of the 18 ancient Buddhist weapons. Heavenly Dharma pondered for a moment, and walked towards the gates of the sacred palace. No one understood the sacred palace better than him. This sacred palace wasn't a place that anyone could enter. The long-browed old monk and the other Buddhist half-sage followed behind Heavenly Dharma and entered the sacred palace. The other arhats stood still. This was because they knew that even if they entered, they could only walk around the periphery. It would be difficult for them to enter the depths of the sacred palace. In fact, even Heavenly Dharma himself couldn't get close to the depths of the sacred palace. Fortunately, the supreme Buddhist treasure that Heavenly Dharma wanted to summon wasn't stored in the depths of the sacred palace. Otherwise, even Heavenly Dharma himself wouldn't be able to do anything. Outsiders? How could there be outsiders here? As soon as Heavenly Dharma entered the sacred palace, a look of disbelief appeared on his face. He sensed something strange. It didn't seem like Buddhist disciples had entered the sacred palace. Thinking of this, no matter how calm Heavenly Dharma was, he was shocked to the extreme. There were only arhats in the heavenly Buddhist path. Since ancient times, no outsiders had ever entered. After entering the sacred palace, Heavenly Dharma stopped. He reached out his hand and swiped the void in front of him. A golden Buddhist aura appeared and an image appeared on the light screen. Heavenly Dharma was displaying the Buddhist Dharma, replaying the image of the past. On the golden light screen, two people appeared in front of the sacred palace. A handsome young cultivator stepped forward and used a technique to break the Buddhist restriction on the gates of the sacred palace. Then, the other young cultivator stepped forward and pushed the gates open. "It's those two?" The sloppy monk witnessed this scene from outside the sacred palace. He couldn't help but be shocked. He never thought that those two would be so bold as to intrude into the sacred palace of the Buddhist path. The sacred palace left behind by the ancient Buddhist Lord was actually a place for Buddhist disciples to cultivate. From the outside to the inside, it was divided into 9 layers of heaven. Those with weak cultivation could only stay on the first layer. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1391. The dwelling place of the ancient Buddhist Lord was definitely the most mysterious place in the world. Even the arhats of the heavenly Buddha path could not enter the depths of the holy palace. Each level of the holy palace required a corresponding level of cultivation and strength to enter. Each level was imprinted with the path of enlightenment of the Buddhist masters from different periods of time. Only arhats who succeeded in severing their Tao were qualified to enter the holy palace. However, only Grand Elder Heavenly Dharma could enter the second level of the holy palace. The others could only wander around the first level. Legend has it that only by passing through the 9 levels of the holy palace could one achieve the Buddhist Saint Tao fruit, cultivate the Buddhist Saint true body, and become a saint among Buddhas, looking down on the world. However, even a demisage like Heavenly Dharma could only enter the second level of the holy palace. To pass through the 9 levels of the holy palace was no different from ascending to the 9 heavens. At this time, the crowd followed Grand Elder Heavenly Dharma into the first level of the holy palace. Here, Buddhist aura was everywhere, and there were wondrous Buddhist trees growing everywhere. It was a type of golden Buddhist tree. Its entire body looked as if it was cast from gold. Every branch, every leaf, flowed with Buddhist aura. On the branches of some of the Buddhist trees, there were golden fruits the size of a fist. The fruits contained spiritual energy, and were definitely a type of spiritual fruit. Is this the legendary Golden Buddha tree? Golden Buddha fruit, a spiritual root of heaven and earth. Some of the arhats were entering the holy palace for the first time. Seeing this scene, they couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Could this be the undying God tree that the ancient Buddhist Lord obtained? However, there was only one undying God tree, and it was a spiritual root of heaven and earth. Legend has it that the ancient Buddhist Lord was able to achieve Tao because of this undying God tree. Heavenly Dharma ignored these people. He directly displayed the supreme Buddhist Dharma, using the Buddhist arts to replay the past. The scenes of Gu Fei and He Tian entering the heavenly Buddha path appeared on the Buddhist aura in front of Heavenly Dharma. What? An outsider actually entered the heavenly Buddha path, and even barged into the holy palace. How is this possible? The arhats were dumbfounded. This was unprecedented. How could an outsider enter the heavenly Buddha path? One had to know that this was the supreme Buddhist land of bliss that the ancient Buddhist Lord refined. Am I seeing things? Some of the sons of Buddha couldn't believe what they were seeing. Only the sons of Buddha recognized by the universal Buddha light could enter the heavenly Buddha path. This rule was set by the ancient Buddhist Lord and no one had ever broken it. Heavenly Fa waved his hand and the mirror-like Buddhist light in front of him immediately disappeared. Grand Elder, this! The old monk's snow-white eyebrows were trembling. Even though he had the cultivation and strength of a semi-sage, it was difficult for him to remain calm at this time. Heavenly Law didn't say anything, but his expression was ugly to behold. Someone actually dared to take advantage of the Buddha land's demonic influence. Not only did they break into the heavenly Buddha path, they even broke into the holy palace. This was a humiliation to all the arhats of the heavenly Buddha sect. Swoosh! Fa Tian's figure instantly vanished on the spot. The monk and the other half-saint were stunned, and then they seemed to have thought of something, causing them to be extremely shocked. The first level of the holy palace was like a boundless golden world. Here, golden trees could be seen everywhere. However, these trees weren't the legendary immortal golden Buddha tree. This was because there was only one immortal golden Buddha tree in this world. It was obtained by the ancient Buddhist Lord and became the supreme tree of Buddhism. Some of the sons of Buddha had already vaguely guessed that this immortal golden Buddha tree was most likely in the Holy Palace. Even if the golden tree in the first level of the Holy Palace wasn't the legendary golden Buddha tree, it was most likely a rare species. The golden spiritual fruits on the branches contained a huge amount of spiritual energy, which was a type of auspicious spiritual energy that was close to Buddhist energy. This isn't the golden Buddha tree, nor is it the golden Buddha fruit, but it's also a type of spiritual fruit. After consuming it, it can increase one's cultivation, the monk said. Then can we? The sloppy monk looked at the golden fruits on the branches of the golden tree and his eyes lit up. This was the first time he entered the Holy Palace, so he didn't know that there were such spiritual fruits in the first level of the Holy Palace. Fellow Buddhists, please help yourselves, the long-browed monk said as he sat on the ground with his legs crossed. He began to inhale and exhale Buddhist energy and entered a meditative state to cultivate. The golden Buddhist light around him immediately gathered towards him. The Buddhist energy there was extremely abundant, far more than any other blessed enclave could compare to. The Buddhist energy here could be easily refined, and cultivating in such a place was not as simple as getting twice the results with half the effort. The other half-sage also sat down. They were quietly waiting for news because the great elder of Law Heaven had already gone to the second level of the Holy Palace. The two outsiders had probably already broken into the second level of the Holy Palace. The sloppy monk didn't stand on ceremony. He directly flew up and plucked a spiritual fruit from the branch of the golden tree, then opened his mouth and took a bite. Golden juice flowed from the spiritual fruit in the sloppy monk's hand, and a refreshing fruit fragrance lingered in the void. The sloppy monk only felt a wave of essence chi directly enter his elixir field, and then spread throughout his body, making him feel extremely comfortable. All the pores on his body opened up. He was surprised and delighted. Although this kind of spiritual fruit couldn't compare to the legendary golden Buddha fruit, its medicinal power was actually effective even for Buddhist powerhouses who had already cut their paths. After the sloppy monk ate a golden fruit, the Buddhist energy in his body surged. He felt that his cultivation seemed to be showing signs of breaking through. He hurriedly sat down with his legs crossed, and then used a great Buddhist technique to refine the surging essence chi in his body. When the other sons of Buddha saw this, they also followed suit and plucked the golden spiritual fruit from the golden tree, then consumed it. At this time, increasing their cultivation and strength was the most important. The two Buddhist half-sages and the other 15 sons of Buddha were all frequent visitors to the first level of the Holy Palace. They didn't touch the spiritual fruit on the golden tree, but instead headed towards a few important places in the first level of the Holy Palace. They wanted to check if those places had been visited by those two fellows. The first level of the Holy Palace was enveloped by a layer of blurry golden Buddha chi. The flowers, grass, and trees were all tainted with Buddha chi and filled with spirituality. This place was very spacious, and there were very few buildings. In the first level of the Holy Palace, the ancient Buddhist master didn't set up any difficulties to train the group of sons of Buddha. This place was like a place to help people comprehend the Tao. However, there were a few supreme Buddhist treasures in the Buddhist sects hidden here. At the top of a spiritual mountain, there was an ancient pagoda standing there. This was a pagoda that didn't attract any attention. The simple and unadorned pagoda gave people a feeling of grandeur. At this time, a few figures arrived at the bottom of the spiritual mountain, then ascended the spiritual mountain and arrived in front of the pagoda. When those few people arrived in front of the pagoda, they were all stunned. This pagoda that was only about 30 feet tall and was built with green bricks actually had a huge hole in it. Buddha finger Saraira! Those few sons of Buddha were shocked and hurriedly went forward to check. In the pagoda, there was a piece of the legendary finger bone that was formed when the ancient Buddhist master underwent nirvana. The supreme Buddhist treasure is gone! Those few sons of Buddha were extremely shocked. The Buddha finger Saraira that was worshipped in the pagoda was actually taken away by someone. From the looks of the damage on the pagoda, it seemed like it was just destroyed by someone. The same thing happened in a few other important places in the first level of the Holy Palace. The Buddhist treasures that were worshipped in those places were forcefully taken away. It must be the doing of those two demons. The group of sons of Buddha was extremely furious, but there was nothing they could do. They had practically searched the entire first level of the Holy Palace, but they couldn't find any traces of those two demons. Those two demons should have barged into the second level of the Holy Palace. With the cultivation of these sons of Buddha, it was impossible for them to enter the second level of the Holy Palace. They could only guard the first level of the Holy Palace. This unprecedented thing actually happened today. The sons of Buddha in the first level of the Holy Palace all felt a sense of helplessness. The current situation was very disadvantageous to the Buddhist sections. All the sons of Buddha were looking forward to Grand Elder Dharma pulling those two demons out of the Holy Palace. However, that Grand Elder Dharma didn't appear even after a long time. At this moment, in the second level of the Holy Palace, Dharma was intercepting those two demons that had barged into the Holy Palace. The aura of a quasi-sage spread out, and the entire heaven and earth was shaking. The second level of the Holy Palace didn't have any golden Buddhist chi. In fact, there wasn't even any spiritual chi. This was a barren land, and there wasn't even a temple in such a place. This was a land of training. There wasn't anything here, not even a trace of spiritual chi. There wasn't any help here, and one had to rely on oneself to pass through everything. Gu Fei and He Tian had already barged into this barren land for around 2 hours. In front of their eyes was an endless stretch of sand, and the scenery was the same. A place like this would drive people crazy. Just as Gu Fei and He Tian had just gotten some insights, they were suddenly intercepted by a middle-aged monk. Moreover, they could feel that this monk didn't come with good intentions. To benefactors, there's no need for me to say anything more. Just surrender. Dharma placed his palms together and chanted. His body was covered in Buddhist light, and a golden disk of Buddhist light appeared behind his head. It was as if a Buddha had descended. A quasi-sage? Gu Fei's eyes narrowed when he saw this middle-aged monk. Although the other party didn't release any earth-shattering aura, he still felt a great pressure. Boss! He Tian heard this and couldn't help but look at Gu Fei. This bald man was actually a quasi-sage. This shocked him greatly. A quasi-sage. Unless a sage appeared, a quasi-sage was invincible. What a joke! Gu Fei's words were incomparably cold. Even though this monk was a quasi-sage, he was a little too arrogant to ask him to surrender the moment he arrived. If that's the case, this old monk will start killing. Excellent, excellent! Fa Tian had a compassionate expression on his face, but the matter he was talking about was the matter of killing. Although he looked like a middle-aged man, his voice was slightly older. Excellent, you big baldy. I can't stand people like you who are pretending to be compassionate. He Tian hid behind Gu Fei as he pointed at Dharma and scolded him. With Gu Fei around, He Tian wasn't afraid of this big baldy. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1392. The number one expert of the Heavenly Buddha Path, Heavenly Dharma, intercepted Gu Fei and He Tian in the second layer of the Holy Palace, intending to kill them. Big Baldy, you want to send us off? Be careful that I don't send you off. He Tian, who was hiding behind Gu Fei, looked at Fatian disdainfully and said. Although Fatian was a sage-to-be, Gu Fei used his martial arts to slay the Tao. His combat strength was so strong that even my Tian couldn't see through it. Excellent! Heavenly Dharma's face was filled with benevolence, but Gu Fei and He Tian felt a great pressure, an extreme sense of danger enveloped them in an instant. Shwa! At this time, Heavenly Dharma's giant hand reached out, grabbing towards Gu Fei and He Tian. The golden palm expanded infinitely, enveloping the entire heaven and earth. In this place where there wasn't even a trace of immortal chi, one had to rely on one's own Buddhism energy to display supreme techniques. Moreover, the amount of Buddhism energy consumed by these techniques couldn't be replenished. In other words, in the second layer of the Holy Palace, whether it was Buddhism energy or immortal chi, the more one used it, the less spiritual energy one would be able to absorb. The second layer of the holy palace was like the sea of bitterness that Buddhists spoke of. Only by crossing this sea of bitterness with one's own strength could one achieve enlightenment and reach the other shore. The second layer of the holy palace was like the sea of bitterness that Buddhists spoke of. Only by crossing this sea of bitterness with one's own strength could one achieve enlightenment and reach the other shore. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. He directly punched out towards Heavenly Dharma's giant hand. In this place, any kind of innate technique would be suppressed, unable to display their full power. Boom! The void trembled as Gu Fei's fist collided with Heavenly Dharma's giant hand. Transparent ripples appeared in the void, spreading out in all directions. Bang! Gu Fei took a step back, causing the ground to shake violently. The ground beneath his feet undulated violently like waves. Monk Facian's body swayed a little, but he did not take a step back. This, He Tian, who was hiding behind Gu Fei, was sent flying tens of feet away. His heart was trembling. If it wasn't for Gu Fei, he would have been killed by Heavenly Dharma's Buddha hand. A demi-saint is indeed extraordinary. Even Gu Fei secretly nodded. This big baldy was incomparably strong, and his physical body was equally strong. However, compared to him, he was still a little weaker. Eat my fist! Gu Fei's long hair fluttered in the wind as he took a step forward. His right fist exuded a resplendent chi aura, as if a divine sun had appeared between heaven and earth. Bam! With a single punch, the entire heavens and earth crumbled. The fist energy contained the purest yang energy, like the eruption of 100,000 volcanoes, had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Facing such a punch, even Heavenly Dharma's expression changed. It was too strong. How could time have such a powerful physical body? It wasn't a divine ability, nor was it a magical art. It was a battle technique, simple and direct. One punch could break through any divine ability. It was the embodiment of the strongest power in the heavens and earth. The path of martial arts was actually a direction of cultivation. Whether one could achieve the Tao depended on one's luck and cultivation. The peerless martial ancestor only pointed out a path for the future generations to become a saint. Gu Fei had embarked on this path, and the source of his strength was his physical body. Although it was extremely difficult to achieve the Tao, once he succeeded, he would become the king of the saints, invincible among those of the same cultivation level. Whoosh! Heavenly Dharma immediately retreated. He could tell that facing Gu Fei head-on was not a wise move. His opponent's combat strength was too strong. Boom! Gu Fei's fist landed, causing the entire space to turn chaotic. Even with the sealing force of the ancient Buddhist lord, it was useless. The space within 100 zhang radius was pierced through. The power of Gu Fei's punch had exceeded Heavenly Dharma's estimation. This place was sealed by the power of the ancient Buddhist lord. Even if Heavenly Dharma used his full strength, he still wouldn't be able to break through this space. The second level of the Saint Palace was a training ground set up by the Buddhist lord throughout the ages to train the sons of Buddha who came later. When divine arts and spells were used here, the power of the divine arts and spells would be greatly weakened. Boundless Dharma! Dharma Tian flew up into the sky and sat cross-legged in the sky. His entire body shone with Buddha light as the shadow of a great Buddha appeared from his body. It was as if an ancient Buddha had descended into the world. Buddha energy filled the sky and earth. This was a peerless divine ability of the Buddhist sect. It was able to draw upon the power of the great Tao of Buddhism. A holy aura was emitted from the silhouette of the great Buddha. Heaven and earth avatar. Seeing this, Gu Fei's eyes narrowed. This great monk was quite impressive, to be able to display such a divine ability in a place like this. Rumble! A golden Buddhist light descended from the sky towards Gu Fei and He Tian. The powerful Buddhist energy suppressed everything. It was as if the entire sky was sinking. The mighty Buddhist energy caused the entire ground to tremble. Where did this powerful baldy come from? He Tian couldn't help but tremble in fear. The opponent was too powerful. Even in this place, the divine ability of the Buddhist sect was already so powerful. If he were to use it in the outside world, without the suppressive force, wouldn't he be able to destroy an entire region? In here, even if you are a quasi-saint, you might not be my opponent. Gu Fei was incomparably confident. He stood on the ground and raised his head. 2 rays of light shot out from his eyes like 2 sharp swords, sweeping towards the Buddha silhouette in the sky. Bam! Gu Fei followed up with a punch with his left fist. The dark yin energy surged out from his fist, freezing everything in its path. Even the void froze before it cracked and crumbled. Yin on the left and yang on the right, Gu Fei displayed the yin-yang reincarnation fist. With an invincible fist intent, the power of yin and yang intertwined, raising the power of the yin-yang reincarnation fist to a frightening level. The golden Buddhist power was also frozen by the mysterious yin power, and then it shattered. Everything froze, and even the great Buddha's image froze. Bang! The Buddha's silhouette shattered in the void like a layer of transparent ice. Dharma Tian's supreme divine ability was broken by Gu Fei's fist. Dharma Tian was sent flying thousands of feet away. His entire body was covered in ice shards and his body was trembling. It was obvious that he was frozen by Gu Fei's dark yin fist. Resplendent Buddhist light emitted from Dharma Tian's body, expelling all the cold air that invaded his body. His aura immediately increased. Immortal and martial dual cultivation? Dharma Tian had cultivated Buddhism for thousands of years and his knowledge was extraordinary. He could already tell that Gu Fei was a celestial body. His entire body exuded celestial qi, but what this person displayed was a martial arts battle technique. Gu Fei didn't say anything. Because of the little monk Fan Xiu, he didn't have a good impression of these baldies. Moreover, they wanted to kill him right from the start, which made him even more unhappy. Swoosh! A purple divine light surged from his brow. The power of the celestial way was vast. It was as if a supreme divine eye was about to open and the power of the celestial way was gathering. Buzz! The void vibrated and a sword silhouette rushed out from Gu Fei's brow. It then turned into a purple sword of light and pierced towards Dharma Tian in the distance. Gu Fei used a supreme immortal technique. He used the power of his primordial spirit to form a sword and launched an extremely sharp attack at Dharma Tian. The primordial spirit sword was extremely fast, and it arrived in front of Dharma Tian in an instant. What? Dharma Tian felt great danger. It was as if his body and soul were about to be destroyed in the next moment. He couldn't help but be scared out of his wits. He quickly used a supreme Buddhist art to try and dodge. Dharma Tian's body suddenly became blurry. The primordial spirit sword instantly pierced through his blurry figure and flew back. It pierced through Dharma Tian's blurry figure again before flying back to Gu Fei. Swoosh! Dharma Tian's blurry figure condensed again. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of golden Buddhist blood. Although he used a Buddhist art, he was still heavily injured by the primordial spirit sword. The power of the primordial spirit sword was also suppressed by this world. It couldn't display its full power. Otherwise, Dharma Tian wouldn't just be injured. Immortal and martial dual cultivation. Dharma Tian was stunned by Gu Fei. How could there be such a freak in this world? How could there be a supreme martial and immortal cultivator at the same time? How could these two powers appear on the same person? What Dharma Tian didn't know was that Gu Fei hadn't come to the holy palace with his real body. His real body had already entered his inner world. Right now, this Gu Fei was his saint-grade puppet clone. 3 pure ones! Shouted Gu Fei. His immortal energy surged and his body became blurry. When his body condensed again, there were 3 identical Gu Fei in the sky. With the power of the saint-tier puppet clone, Gu Fei could easily use this immortal Tao's secret technique. The combat strength of the 2 Tao clones was basically not much different from the main body. Seeing this, Dharma Tian felt a headache coming on. He couldn't even handle 1 Gu Fei. Now there were 3. How was he supposed to fight? Moreover, his power was suppressed in this place. He couldn't display his peak power. Although his opponents were also suppressed, their physical strength wasn't affected at all. Die! Shouted the 3 Gu Feis in unison. their killing intent soared as they charged at Dharma Tian. Of the 3 Gu Feis, only one was Gu Fei's real body. The other 2 were Tao bodies. It was difficult to tell the difference between a Tao body and a real body. But if the Tao body was killed, the real body would also be affected. Although they wouldn't die, their vitality would be damaged. The 3 Gu Feis punched at Dharma Tian at the same time. The power of Yin and Yang sealed off all of Dharma Tian's paths of retreat. Roar! Dharma Tian roared. The image of the great Buddha that Gu Fei had shattered earlier appeared on his body again. The great Buddha smiled and delivered all living things from suffering. He seemed to have turned into a supreme Buddha, radiating endless Buddhist light. The attacks from the 3 Gu Feis were blocked by the vast Buddhist light. Myriad Buddhas greeting! The sound of Buddha rang out between heaven and earth, and many great Buddhas materialized in the Buddha light. All the Buddhas turned their palms outward, and boundless Buddhist power spread out, sending Gu Fei's real body and Taoist body flying at the same time. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1393. Countless Buddhist shadows appeared between the heavens and the earth. Terrifying Buddhist power erupted, and the entire world was filled with figures that emitted terrifying fluctuations. These figures were like the incarnations of the Supreme Buddha, and the supreme chanting of sutras lingered between the heavens and earth. This kind of Buddhist voice made Gu Fei's mind tremble. In the Buddhist voice, there seemed to be a force that made Gu Fei and He Tian want to convert. Even Gu Fei, who had a firm mind, almost lost his mind. As the Buddhist voice entered his ears, He Tian became even more confused. The power of Yin and Yang in his body surged and showed signs of losing control. Fortunately, he was also a man with a firm mind. At the critical moment, he bit the tip of his tongue and used the pain to wake himself up. Even so, Gu Fei and He Tian suffered a great impact. Gu Fei's Taoist body collapsed in the void, and He Tian's body almost collapsed. How is this possible? Gu Fei and He Tian were incomparably shocked. This place had been set up by the ancient Buddhist Lord to suppress all divine abilities and magical arts. Casting divine abilities and magical arts in this place would be suppressed, and they would not be able to display their true power. But now, Heavenly Dharma had unleashed a great Buddhist technique. The 10,000 Buddhas greeting technique shook the heavens and earth, sending Gu Fei and Mahakala flying. Countless Buddha shadows appeared and disappeared. Dharma was like the myriad Buddha sect master, sitting cross-legged in the sky and accepting the worship of tens of thousands of Buddhas. It was as if he had become the incarnation of the ancient Buddhist Lord. Gu Fei felt the surging and unstoppable power and couldn't help but change his expression. He knew that the power of the Buddhist technique displayed by Dharma was far more than this. It probably didn't even have 1/10 of its power. The second level of the Holy Palace had the power to suppress all divine powers and spells. No matter how powerful one's divine powers and spells were, they would all be suppressed here. Gu Fei's 3 pure immortal technique was also suppressed, and the power of his Taoist body was far less powerful than usual. The collapse of his Taoist body was a great shock to him. Even though his primordial spirit was protected by the saint-level puppet doppelganger, he still felt that his primordial spirit was almost knocked out of the saint-level puppet doppelganger by the power of the 1,000 Buddhas worshipping technique. A saint level is so powerful! Gu Fei was inwardly startled. No wonder a quasi-sage was more powerful and frightening than a half-sage. They weren't even on the same level. A quasi-sage was much more powerful than a half-sage. Boss! A saint-tier aura descended from the sky. He Tian was so suppressed by this aura that he couldn't even stand up straight. Fortunately, he had a saint weapon to protect him. The formless divine sword released a wave of sword energy that protected Mahakala within it, negating most of the Buddha sage's might that came crashing down from the sky. Swish! Gu Fei opened his inner world and took He Tian into it. A battle of this level was no longer something a half-step almighty like He Tian could intervene in. Inner world? When Dharma saw Gu Fei open his inner world, he couldn't help but be shocked. He never thought that Gu Fei could cultivate an inner world. This person's talent in cultivation was too heaven-defying. The inner world was different from the inner space. With the cultivation of a saint-level almighty, his inner world was only a few miles in radius, and the spiritual chi inside was also very thin. Almighty existences could only open up an inner space, but it was difficult to open up a heaven and earth. Not all existences above the immortal realm could create a heaven and earth. To create a heaven and earth, one must first evolve the heaven and earth. To evolve the heaven and earth, one must first understand the heaven and earth. Only by understanding the existence of all things in the heaven and earth, and having a certain understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth, could one open up an inner world. Gu Fei was an anomaly. He was able to open up an inner world because of the chaotic origin embryo inside the mountain and river cauldron. The chaotic origin embryo was the origin of the heaven and earth. Since Gu Fei had dissolved the origin of the heaven and earth, he could naturally use the origin power of the heaven and earth to open up his own little world. He didn't need to understand the great Tao of heaven and earth. My own heaven and earth, I am the supreme. Let's see how you fight me. Gu Fei's long hair danced in the wind. He activated the inner world power in his dantian. A wave of inner world power spread out from his dantian. It first enveloped his body, then spread out in all directions. Rumble! The immortal Tao power that was suppressed on Gu Fei was no longer restrained. It surged out from his body like a mountain torrent, causing the void around him to tremble. However, Gu Fei soon realized that his inner heaven and earth energy could only spread to a radius of around 100 jiang, and that was his limit. Gu Fei couldn't help but be surprised. The 1,000-year-old Buddhist Lord's methods were too brilliant. Even the inner world power was suppressed by the inner world power. This is more than enough. Gu Fei knew that a radius of 100 feet around him would be his opponent's forbidden zone. Within this range, he could use the saint-grade puppet's power to his heart's content. A wave of saintly aura spread out from his saint-grade puppet, shocking even heavenly Dharma up in the sky. My own heaven and earth, evolving the universal laws. Heavenly Dharma couldn't help but be moved. He could sense that within 100 feet around Gu Fei was the supreme god who ruled over everything. At this time, Gu Fei's real body was sitting cross-legged on a mountain peak in his inner world. He fully activated the inner world power and poured it into the saint-grade puppet. In the dantian of the saint-grade puppet avatar, a vortex visible to the naked eye appeared, from which the power of heaven and earth surged out. The clone is like me. Gu Fei displayed a supreme immortal Tao divine ability from the anti-void secret technique, and linked his own aura with the saint-grade puppet. Invisible tentacles spread out from his body and penetrated into the void. They penetrated the void and entered the body of the saint-grade puppet in the outside world. With the addition of the primordial spirit and the support of the immortal Tao secret technique, Gu Fei's control over the saint-grade puppet had reached 100%. The myriad Buddha greeting. Heavenly Dharma sat cross-legged in the sky with a solemn expression. His whole body emitted a boundless Buddhist light. Shadows of Buddhas constantly appeared around him, and supreme Buddhist chants lingered between heaven and earth. Rumble! The powerful myriad Buddha power crushed the void and shook the sky. However, no matter how powerful the Buddhist power that came down from the sky was, it could not reach within 100 feet of Gu Fei. Gu Fei's saint-grade avatar released a vast amount of inner world energy to resist the 10,000 Buddha power. The 10,000 Buddha power was unable to cause any impact to Gu Fei's saint-grade avatar. I told you, you can't beat me. It seems that it's better for me to release you from purgatory. Gu Fei was extremely confident. Immortal Tao power surged from his body and 9 rays of immortal light appeared around him. The power of a saint-grade immortal was released from his body. You demon! Heavenly Dharma was shocked. He never thought that his opponent had hidden his strength. However, he soon realized that there was something strange about his opponent. Swoosh! Gu Fei did not say anything else. He directly operated the power of his Yuan spirit and turned it into a purple Tao sword. He then shot it towards Heavenly Dharma, who was sitting cross-legged in the sky like a real Buddha. The purple Tao sword soared for tens of thousands of feet, and emitted a powerful sword aura that caused the world to lose its color. It cut through the void, and countless Buddhas were destroyed by the sword light. This was the power of a saint-grade immortal. It was extremely powerful. Even though it was shot out 100 feet away and was suppressed by the outside world, it still displayed terrifying power. The myriad Buddha power was torn apart by the Yuan Spirit Tao sword. The tip of the sword pointed straight at Heavenly Dharma, who was among the Buddhas. This sword strike made even Heavenly Dharma's heart palpitate. The power of this supreme immortal Tao technique was too heaven-defying. If he was in the outside world, he would not be a match for this demon. However, this was the second level of the holy palace set up by the Buddhist Lord. There was a sealing power here that suppressed all techniques and the power of the Yuan Spirit Tao sword. Swoosh! A golden Buddhist sword rushed out from the back of Heavenly Dharma's head and turned into 1,000 feet long golden light that met the Yuan Spirit Tao sword. Clang! The sword light formed by the golden Buddhist sword collided with Gu Fei's Yuan Spirit Tao sword. A metallic sound was heard, and the extremely sharp sword aura shot out in all directions. Countless black holes appeared in the void. The golden Buddhist sword that Heavenly Dharma struck out blocked Gu Fei's Yuan Spirit Tao sword. However, the golden sword light collapsed, and the Buddhist sword was knocked away. Gu Fei's Yuan Spirit Tao sword also dissipated in the void. Buddhist sacred weapon? Gu Fei's eyes narrowed when he saw this scene. He had already expected that this Baldi had a saint-grade Buddhist weapon. How could a Heavenly Dharma sage not have a saint-grade Buddhist weapon? Moreover, there were many Buddhist sacred weapons. The ancient Buddhas of the past had left behind sacred weapons. Most of the Buddhist sacred weapons were kept in the Heavenly Buddha sect. As a Heavenly Buddha sect demi-sage, how could he not have a Buddhist sacred weapon? Buzz! The golden Buddhist sword that was knocked away vibrated. Heavenly Dharma used his supreme Buddhist power to guide it back into his hand. On the Buddhist sword, a wan Buddhist seal appeared faintly, and a saint-grade sword aura rippled out from it. The saint-grade ripples from the Buddhist sword could not be suppressed even in this part of the world. This Buddhist weapon was most likely a Buddhist weapon refined by a Buddhist great sage. Humph, you're not the only one with a sacred weapon, Gu Fei sneered. Then, a golden saber light rushed out from his body. The saber light wrapped around a golden saber, and a saint-grade sword aura spread out. This was Gu Fei's spoils of war from the battle in the land of the buried saints. It was a saint-grade golden saber. The golden battle saber emitted an extremely sharp murderous aura, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. This was a murderous saber that had slain countless experts. Sacred weapon. Heavenly Dharma felt a headache when he saw that Gu Fei had also taken out a sacred weapon. What was this guy's background? Not only did he break into the Heavenly Buddha sect, but he also entered the sacred palace set up by the ancient Buddhas, and he even has a sacred weapon on him. The power of a saint-grade saint filled this part of the world. Both sides had used their own trump cards. A great battle was inevitable. Who would win and who would lose was still unknown. Target =_.